Welcome back to the best division in football with your boys Awthentik and The Beard, the best television show not on TV. Welcome to another episode of the best division of football, man. Week 10 is in the books, and it was definitely a memorable week, man. We had that Bills-Vikings game. That went crazy, man. We know about the Washington Commanders Monday night. Big W against the formerly undefeated Philadelphia Eagles, man. Our Giants took care of them Texans at home. And the Dallas Cowboys, man, they took a L to the Packers. I saw this on the Pat McAfee show. He said the Packers sent Big D back to Dallas with a big L. I love that saying right there. And I got a question for y'all out there. Is today National Beard Day, man? Because everything went the Beard's way on Monday night. I still cannot believe that the Washington Commanders got a W. And we're going to start the show off with a little nugget here before we bring on the best co-host in the country. I was telling him about this backstage, and I thought this was pretty fascinating. The Cowboys have not had back-to-back winning seasons since 1996. Yo, in 1996, I was 13 years old. That was a long time ago. Now, you Redskins and you Commanders fans out there, pump the brakes. Don't get to laughing at them Cowboys too hard, because y'all have not had back-to-back seasons with winning seasons since 1991. For the New York Giants, it's been since 2008. And for the Philadelphia Eagles, it's been since 2018, 2019 when they won that Super Bowl and whatnot. They did have back-to-back winning seasons that year. So without further ado, man, let me bring in the strong side to the left side. My brother, I see him stretching backstage. He said he had a long day. He's hype right now with that big win. Y'all make some noise one time for the Beard, man. The Beard gang is in the building, man. Shout out to the Beard. He's lit.
What?
You called it, bro. You called it.
Man, what an absolutely insane weekend of football. And then the thing that's crazy is Washington on Monday night had the opportunity and they took it. They did it. It was, listen, I was texting with Awthentik after the game. I was still standing up like 20 minutes after the game in front of the TV.
Bro, I could not sleep, man. Like, I was up till like 5 in the morning. Like, damn, they did win that game. Like, it really happened.
I know it's early, but I have to bring this up because I don't know if y'all saw it on Twitter. But I literally, my mom, shout out Ma Dukes, she was like, she had went to somebody's house and they were getting rid of a bunch of stuff. And inside the box was this little burgundy rabbit's foot along with a bunch of other little Redskin stuff. I said, man, we need some luck. I'm taking this home tonight. I took it, I put it on my keychain, and then like the first thing happens with the fumble, and Josie's cousin is on the couch. She's like, did you rub the foot? And I was like, no, I didn't. Got up, rubbed the foot, and here we are celebrating a victory Tuesday. But listen, I mean,
wait,
there was
before
some
you
things,
move on from the rabbit's foot, I got to ask you one quick question. Are you superstitious or are you a little stitious?
I'm a little stitious.
You still a little stitious, all right? Because we ditched the R hat. Now we got the burgundy rabbit's foot.
Listen, I went to the R hat last night. I went to the R hat, okay, but I went to this crew neck underneath of the jersey, okay. So I added. I love
some
that
crew neck too. That crew neck is fresh.
Oh, it's so dope. So dope.
Yeah, it's got that brand new crispy burgundy, like it ain't been washed kind of vibe. I like that. I like when the hoodie's fresh like that.
Yeah, and I mean this is about as old as the last time Washington had back-to-back winning seasons.
That's crazy. Yo, definitely fresh, man.
Actually,
definitely fresh.
I think it literally is from that year. It is from the 1991.
From the last back-to-back winning seasons.
Well, I mean, but look, it was crazy. I thought Josh McDaniels would be the offensive coordinator in New England by now after that loss to the Colts. I mean, Matt Ryan comes back and Jeff Saturday goes from being next to Chris Berman to winning his first NFL game as a head coach. You know,
you remember on the parlay who I picked for that game, right?
I do, and that was one that I took a beating on because I was like, man, they are going to run I went and I picked up the Raiders defense because I thought it was going to be a shellacking.
I did see that. And you did get the win this past week in our league. Thank you for that because Alex is a couple of games. He's still 2 games ahead of me, and I think we got 3 games left. How many games are in the fantasy season? 13?
No, it's 14, I think, because there's 17 in the...
Because the extra game now. That's good. That'll give me 4 games to try to catch up.
13 weeks. I'm not sure.
With the playoffs and whatnot. But, yeah, I definitely appreciate you taking him out in that in that fantasy matchup, man. That definitely gave me a little bit of a chance here to make the playoffs, man. My division is very difficult.
But listen, dude, the NFC East. So AFC East is definitely giving us a run for our
best
money.
Division in football, yeah.
But I mean, the East all around, it's just been kind of crazy. And we talked about this beginning of the year. We thought, hey, that AFC West is going to be where the dogs live. That's going to be the doghouse. But NFC East and AFC East is definitely living up to expectations of some of those teams, and a lot of these teams are exceeding expectations. The New York Jets and the New York Giants probably had a combined win expectation as far as Vegas goes of probably like 10 games between the two teams combined.
Yeah. I know, right? For the New York Giants, it was sitting at 7, and a lot of people was calling that free money.
It's crazy to think about now, like where we are, and it's time. It's time now. We've gotten to the point where we're going to start talking. We're going to get closer to these weeks where these games are going to start having playoff implications. And I told Awthentik, I said, look, these next 2 weeks are going to be really big for Washington if we can beat the Texans and the Falcons, and then that means we're going in 7-5 with back-to-back games against the Giants. Awthentik said, "Don't count your chickens." I said, "I ain't counting them. I'm just lining them up. Getting them ready."
I got you. My Giants gonna come out here. We're gonna take care of business, man. That's what it is. I can't believe that they matched y'all up 2 straight games versus us. I think that's a little strange, man. They could have at least spread those games out a little bit better across the schedule, man. The Giants, we've only had 1 division game this whole entire year, and that was against the Cowboys, man. So now we're looking at 5 more games to end the season here, man. I think it's a little bit unfair, but if there's a chance for the Giants to collapse, I'm gonna blame the schedule gods who have blessed us thus far. They've blessed us, right? Because we've definitely had I called it a cupcake schedule on Twitter. Maybe that was a little bit overboard, but it's been an easier schedule this year, and I think that that's why the NFC East is shining, and also why going into that game last night with the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Commanders, why a lot of people thought that the Philadelphia Eagles were just going to wipe the floor with the Commanders, but this division is a little bit tighter than people think it is, and I think the inflated wins from teams like possibly the Eagles, I'll say even possibly the Giants. I mean, we've won some tight ones, some close games that people didn't expect us to win, myself included. I was going to feel good if we could have came out of London against the Packers and gotten a win against the Ravens. Just 1 win out of those 2 games I'd have been good. The Giants go out there and they win both those games in crazy fourth quarter comeback fashion, man. So it's been a very surprise, beginning to the season. And I'm glad we didn't do I'm glad we didn't start the season off with a show picking the record and picking the games, because I'd have been all over the place. I already know it. I kind of guessed like 6 wins on the season, and now the Giants have already breached that. And Washington now sitting at 500. Y'all right in the mix, man. It's going to come down to the wire for sure.
I mean, look, I did pick every single NFC East team to have a winning record this year.
You did, allegedly. It never got to the internet, but I am your witness. If we ever got to get on the stand, I can get on the stand and vouch for the homie one time.
I mean, I got email receipts.
Yeah, you can doctor them joints, I had a job situation with my cousin where I'm like waiting on an email for the quote for damn near a couple of months. Man, this man tried to doctor up some email, made some copy and paste looking thing, talking about he sent the email out. But I'm authentic, man. I sit behind the computer all day. I start looking through the fine print. I'm like, oh, no, you little weasel. You tried to cheat me right there. So I know what it is, man. But, yeah, I know you got receipts. I do know you got receipts.
Yeah, so listen, I'm super excited. We got a lot to talk about tonight. So big shout out to everybody who is watching us right now on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. And, ladies and gentlemen, before I forget, if you have not already seen Sideline Authentic.
Oh, Sideline Authentic. Yeah, for the sideline doing the report. Make sure y'all check that out.
Watch the video of Awthentik breaking down the stats from the New York Giants Houston Texans game. It is uploaded on our YouTube page. So as soon as you finish watching us tonight, just watch that video. It's a nice,
easy watch,
quick hitter. 4 or 5 minutes. I think it's actually less than 4 minutes.
Yeah. I'm going to try to do that a lot more often, man. A quick rundown, statistics. I know a lot of people don't have time for the long format content. I think it was Stephen Lilly who hit us up on our comment section on one of the videos saying, he's been working a lot and whatnot, man. He's been trying to catch some streams. So that's kind of like a way to give, some of our viewership a condensed version of what we do on the Giant Overreaction.
And I'll tell you what's funny is immediately when I saw it before we let the rest of the world see it, I said, man, this is it. This is it. I was excited. And I was like, this kind of feels like a movie. And then like I started thinking, I was like, there was a point of a David Chappelle show where Dave Chappelle plays like a news anchor or something like that.
The race draft. Yeah, the race draft, dog. Yeah, we'll take Tiger Woods.
Awthentik is kind of got this Dave Chappelle kind of sideline reporter view. I was like, man, we got to get him one of the little Prices Right.
You know, I got all that here. You know, I definitely got me a Bob Barker microphone over here, 1,000%, man.
Man, it was absolutely fantastic. So big shout out to Awthentik for taking the time out of his day and putting that video together for not just us, but for everybody out there. So definitely appreciate all the love and all the support. We got a lot of people here early. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up while you guys are here on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitter or Twitch or Facebook, come on over to the party. Join us in the YouTube chat. We appreciate all the love and support. Let's go ahead and say some quick shout outs before we get right into the party. We're going to party like it's 1992 tonight.
I got you. For sure. I got you.
Big shout out to Old Man Rob. What's going on, Old Man Rob? Says, what up, fam? And I do know J-Mo was here early. He doesn't appear to be here right now, so got to give some shout outs to Coach Taylor. Big shout out, Coach Taylor.
Coach Taylor, I like that so much better.
I watched a little bit of Friday Night Lights last night after the game because I was like just so into that football mode, and I needed a little bit more inspiration, so I watched a little Friday Night Lights. Shout out Saint Zappa in the building. Appreciate you, my man. Chris Peace always holding us down on Twitter.
Big facts.
Thank you for stopping by. Stan the Man says salute the fam. Bars. Big shout out to the Beige Boy HTTC. What's going on, my man? Appreciate you stopping by.
Shout out Beige Boy. What time in the building?
Kai 001, our resident Dallas Cowboys fan, still shows love. We got nothing but love for Kai 001. Appreciate you stopping by. Because, the NFC race is getting a little spicy.
It's definitely getting a little warm. Gonna make some s'mores, you know what I'm saying?
It might not be slap your mama hot sauce spicy, but it's getting close to that Popeye's chicken sandwich spicy.
Oh, yeah,
so shout out to Kai 001. Fabian is in the building, says, what up?
What up,
Appreciate
Fabian?
you stopping by. Big shout out to the homie Paulie. Hail to the W. Left hand up.
Hype right now.
Who are we?
Hype.
The Commanders.
Left hand up.
That song is on its way to like 20 million views probably at this point. It's going to be crazy. Big shout out to Edward Squires. We appreciate you stopping by. And you're welcome. Our team did what we could to help your team. It's going to get a little dicey here, though. We got 2 more weeks before Beard and Awthentik.
The
the gloves come off.
To start steaming up here, for sure.
This is an Awthentik shout out. What up, Michael?
What up, Michael Knight? How you living, fam?
Appreciate you stopping by. Dustin is in the building.
What up, Dustin?
And
what up?
Look, nothing makes me feel better than seeing this because it doesn't happen quite often.
The beard was right on multiple things.
We get to talk about a little bit of both of those guesses today. Big shout out to Troy. Appreciate you stopping by. What's going on, man?
Troy?
Thank you for joining us. Got a couple of new names in the building. KX Palat. What's going on? Appreciate you stopping by. Marjorie's in the building, always dropping Marge bombs. Appreciate you as always.
Salute.
Afghanistan,
hey,
baby,
what's going on, fam? Good to see you in the building, Afghan. How
good?
You
Coach Joe says,
Joe
what the Commanders do, run the damn ball.
Hey,
HTTC.
I like this. I'm glad to see some people coming out the woodwork supporting the Washington Commanders. I was on my my Instagram today, man, and for those that don't know, we both reside in D.C., grew up in the DMV area and whatnot, man. And I seen so many people talking about Washington football. And normally when I go on to like Instagram, Facebook, and all the OG kind of platforms I'm on, it's crickets about the Washington Commanders. But that was good to see today, man. People was lit, people was live. And especially here in D.C., man, when the Cowboys lose and the Commanders win, that really does it over here, man.
That's a recipe for an old school go-go party, for real. Big shout out to Steven R. says the beard about to be on one. I am not about to be. I am on one. Big shout out to the life of JT.
Hey,
Washington Commanders made me rich. Hey, big shout out to Benny. Benny's in the building.
Yeah, Benny was
is in the
texting us
building.
throughout that whole entire game, man. That was awesome. Benny's like, man, Taylor Heineke out here throwing them dots. And then 5 seconds later, like, my bad. My bad.
Juan Santiago says, what up, mi gente? Let's go, Big Blue. Love
sir.
all y'all content. You and the Beard, an entertainer with Bad Dog. Let's get it authentic.
Salute. We in good company
Shout
right
out,
there, man.
shout
Definitely
out.
appreciate the shots,
Hey,
man.
big shout out to James Funk holding it down on Facebook. Says, holy shnikes. How about them Washington Commanders? Wow. And the pack is back, Jack.
The pack is back. Okay.
James Funk is a Packers fan, so I know he's super
I think
excited.
they got 4 wins now. I think, they 4-6, I believe.
Shout out to Thigh66 says, congrats on the win, Beard. Damn dirty birds.
Damn dirty birds.
Man, you got the chat is lit tonight. Big shout out to Omega Supreme. Oh, we're gonna touch a little bit on this at some point.
We definitely talking about that today. Definitely stick with us.
Got to give a big shout out to Lax O Fo for the $4.99 super chat. Appreciate you. So what's going on, fellas? Salute to the Commanders for the big win last night. Appreciate you.
Major.
As
big shout out
always,
to Lax, man.
Lax.
Day one over here, man. Appreciate
Man.
you supporting the channel, brother.
Hey, got to give a big shout out to the international viewers. Yam from Japan is in the building.
Yams
What's going
is
on,
in the
Yam?
building. What's going on, fam? What's
And,
going on? Big win.
Yeah, big win. Big shout out to Word for the $1.99 super chat. Says gang. Bicep. Shout out.
Gang is in the building. Look at that. We got Washington Commanders fans, Dallas Cowboys fans. I ain't seen no Philadelphia Eagles fans yet, but we got New York Giants fans all in a melting pot having a good time here at Awthentik and The Beard.
Look who's in the building.
Guinness.
Boy.
Texas boy is back in the building. That's what's up. Came to the front door with some humble pie. Like, here you go, fellas.
I don't know. It says Washington and Giants, easy wins for the Cowboys. Straight sweep coming.
That emoji right there says a whole lot, though, at the end of that. That emoji. Yeah, that's what's up, though. Big shout out Texas boy in the building, man.
Another one of our international viewers is in the building and has been playing some great rugby. I guess you already know who I'm talking about.
Man, I got to get that reverb ready for this.
Two-toe. Shout out to Tudo for the $4.99 super chat. Says massive salute to Awthentik and Beards and for all Giants fans around the world. Slap all stinky Boyd's losers out the front door and fast.
Trap raps right there.
That was you hear that's all I got. Hit that double triple, right?
And
And F all Detroit's losers.
I like that.
Italy.
Yeah.
No salute, just Italy.
Italy in the building right now. Y'all know what it is, man. Tudo in the building. The New York Giants #1 supporter right there, man. Big salute to the homie Tudo, man. Hope all is well on your front, brother.
Oh, man, we are lit today in the chat. Shout out to everybody. We got 63 people in the building. Early.
It's popping right now, man. It's
Well,
popping
they
right now.
ready to party, man. Let's get the party started.
Let's get to it, man. So you want to get to this first game right off the bat?
Let's do it.
All right, let's talk about these Cowboys who went to Green Bay to visit the Packers one time. All right, man. The Cowboys now are sitting at 6-3. The Packers improved to 4-6. They end up getting this win in overtime, 31-28. The Packers snap a 5-game losing streak. Got to give props to the Beard right off the bat, right in the beginning of this intro one time. He talked about it on the parlay on Sunday, every Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. He said Christian Watson is going to have at least one touchdown and 100 yards. And he said, book it. He took a page out of Entertainer's book and he said, book it. And I said, nah, bruh. Well, Christian Watson looked at me and he said, nah, bruh. This man had 3 touchdowns on the day. This is the crazy part. He had 3 touchdowns on 4 receptions. That's ridiculous right there.
That's
and
college.
This the wild part is he had a target where the ball got lost in the lights where he could have maybe had another touchdown. It hit him on the hands because he saw it coming in real late. But the man had 4 receptions, 107 yards on 8 targets, 3 touchdowns. The Cowboys, man, and the Packers were tied up 14-14 at the half. Cowboys dominated the third quarter. They scored 14 unanswered points coming out the gate in the second half. They entered the fourth quarter with a 14-point lead, up 28-14. And from that point on, the Cowboys scored 0 points for the rest of the game. Down 14, the Packers went for it on 4th and 7. I was looking at them kind of crazy. They was down by 14, but I'm like, man, y'all are in scoring range here. They go for it on 4th and 7. Aaron Rodgers connects with Christian Watson for a touchdown on a little post route. And then the Packers' next possession, they go 10 plays, 89 yards. They milk 6 minutes, 28 seconds of clock. And the Cowboys' last 3 full possessions go something like this: punt, punt, and a turnover on downs. Packers go on to win this game in overtime, man. CeeDee Lamb, I got to send some props to CeeDee Lamb one time. He finally got over 100 yards for the season. His stat line in this game did look like a #1 wide receiver. Let me pull up the actual box score for this game. I'm a little bit off track here one time.
11 for 150.
11 receptions for 150, right?
2 tutters.
Balled out, man. I got to give CeeDee Lamb his props, but he did. The interception that Dak Prescott threw on the day was on CeeDee Lamb. Ran a bit of a he didn't like close off the route and work his way back to the quarterback, and the safety kind of just stepped up right in front of him and just stole that interception pretty much from Dak Prescott, man. But Dak Prescott, I mean, he had a pretty decent day when you look at the stats. They threw the ball a little bit too much. That completion percentage is a little bit sketchy. 265 yards, 27 of 46 on the day, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. QBR 44.7, man. The Cowboys, this was one of the glaring stats for me, man. A few of them. They were 5 of 15 on third down. That ain't it right there. The Packers didn't do that much better. They were 6 of 13 on third down. The Cowboys averaged 5.5 yards per pass. The Packers almost doubled that. They were averaging 9.5. Can't go without talking about the penalties in this game. The Cowboys committed 9 penalties for 83 yards. And the Packers got back to their identity, man. Me and the Beard, we talked about this. We're like, Aaron Jones, the best player on that field for the Packers. Why is he not getting the ball? How come in the first half he's being so limited with the amount of touches? In this game, he had 138 yards on the ground on 24 attempts and a touchdown. They managed to get A.J. Dillon going as well, too. He had 65 yards on 13 attempts. So that's over 200 yards for your your dual-headed horse over there as far as the running back situation goes. But for you, man, I just want to know from you, Beard, like, what do you think caused the collapse for the Dallas Cowboys? I saw a lot of people blaming this on the quarterback when I woke up this morning, but I'm curious to know what you think about this and how the Cowboys end up collapsing a 14-point lead entering the fourth quarter.
You know what I think it is? It's hard to really pinpoint it when you look at the game and you look at the statistics because, if you were looking at the box score, it's easy to be like, oh, the 2 turnovers. Right. I mean, the 2 turnovers happened early in the game. The big difference is Dallas also forced some turnovers from Green Bay, but they didn't manage to get any points off of those turnovers. Green Bay, 14 points off of the 2 turnovers. That's huge. Like that's something that, like, if you're going to turn the ball over, you got to need your defense to step up, you know what I'm saying, and try to save you a little bit, at least hold them to a field goal. But they scored 2 touchdowns off of those 2 interceptions. So that kind of, was early on, but it's still something that's important through the lay of the game because it kind of changes the progression of the game. Honestly, I think they got away from Tony Pollard a little too early. And this happened in a lot of these games. The Giants are a little bit flip-flop. They're probably one of the only teams that you don't see, like, shy away sometimes randomly with the running game. They literally – Tony Pollard only touched the ball 8 times in the second half.
That's not it. That's not it. And what did he finish the day with?
He finished the day with 22 for like 115 and a touchdown.
Yeah, that's a good game. And I mean, 22 is a decent amount of carries. You think they're missing Ezekiel Elliott a little bit to have that balance with the 2 running backs at all?
No. I don't think it obviously helps. And you see when you're using it the right way, it definitely helps. You see that with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones, obviously. They combined for 207 yards and 1 touchdown on 39 carries. It helps because maybe, at the end of the game when they started passing the ball a little bit more, maybe they do have another running back to kind of give the ball to. But they did have Malik Davis. He had 38 yards
for 5 rushes for 38 yards, and he had a long of 17. Seemed like they could have maybe just gave him the ball. But I'll tell you where I think they really lacked, not having Ezekiel Elliott out there was in the pass protection, man. Like, Dak Prescott just really not looking that comfortable back there, man. And Ezekiel Elliott does help out with chip blocks, man. And, he's one of the more solid running backs when it comes to pass protection. Yeah.
And another thing is we have to talk about it. What are your thoughts on the Cowboys not kicking the field goal in overtime?
Well, I was going to get there. Let's get to it right now, man, because I think that is the major question right there. What do you think about this? Do you agree with Mike McCarthy's decision to go for it on 4th and 3 in overtime instead of kicking the field goal? Now, let me tell you what Colin Cowherd said this morning, which I don't know. I'm very like this with this because Colin made a good point about this, but at the same time, I think when the points are there, you might want to take them. It was 4th and 3, right? On the screen live when you saw this game on TV, it said 4th and 4. They corrected it on the box and said it was 4th and 3. So maybe that influenced Mike McCarthy a little bit more. 4th and 3 is still a pretty long ways to go. But this is what Colin Cowherd said. He said, you can blame Mike McCarthy, but I would have gone for it as well. The Cowboys could not stop the Packers one bit in that second half of that game. I think it makes sense. And when you look at how the Packers drove it down after the turnover on downs, it's not like they kicked a long field goal. They won the game with a 28-yard field goal, and they got it all the way down to 2nd and goal. They got it down to 1st and goal, and Aaron Rodgers just kind of like said hike and just like burnt a little time, set up the kicker for a kicker right down or for a kick right down the middle. And, he just kind of went to one knee in between the hashes. So I'm still – I can't front. I'm a little bit undecided on this. If it's a gutsy-ass decision to do that in overtime, right? But you look at the fourth quarter from the Dallas Cowboys, they scored nothing. They were struggling that whole entire fourth quarter. They were up by 14 points. It seemed like the Packers just figured something out. Like they really just figured something out. And also they did keep Dak Prescott on the sidelines for most of that fourth quarter. They only had 2 possessions in the fourth quarter. The third possession that they did have, you could count it, right? But it was only like 2 plays before the clock ran out. So I don't know, man. I'm a little bit – I don't know, man. I really don't know how to feel about it.
It's not cut and dry. Like usually – these sort of situations, it's easy to be on one side of the fence, right? Either like it's egregious, like what, how, why, or it's like it's brilliant, right? This one is kind of right in the middle. It's always easier to look at these things in hindsight. You know what I'm saying? But for me, I don't have a problem with it, right? But I also think like, okay, sometimes the logic is a little weird. So the logic that some people were saying were, okay, well, if you miss the field goal, the Packers get the ball in good field position. Well, yeah, if you don't get it on 4th down, they get the ball in good field position too. To me, I just feel like in overtime, at that stage, like there's only so much time. It's only one possession. Like if it would have been in the fourth quarter, I wouldn't have had a problem with it at all. But being in overtime where the objective is literally to score points, and the Dallas has a defense. Yeah, they might have been struggling a little bit
right there. And I do see Kai in the chat saying it was the right decision. And for anyone who thinks it was absolutely the right decision, I got no beef with that, right? Because it just like you said, it's not cut and dry. But I think that's the thing that Mike McCarthy got away from. He was looking at his team and his defense from a microscope within this game. He didn't look at the grand scheme of how that defense has been playing well throughout the entire season. And, hey, sometimes you just got to die on that. Like, die on your best asset. The Cowboys' defense has pretty much been their most consistent asset throughout this entire season. Just go ahead and take the 3 points and maybe just die on that. So I could go either way with this. I think that there are great points that leverage both sides of this argument. If somebody thinks it's the right call, I can't disagree with that, to be honest. I mean, you're trying to go for it. I mean, the Giants, we got our first win of the season, which really sparked the momentum for the entire year against the Tennessee Titans, where we go for a 2-point conversion late in that game. So if you don't get that, people are going to be looking at you like, you shouldn't have went for it in hindsight, right? But I can agree with both sides on this one, man. I do think I'm going to go ahead and just say it was the right decision because as the coach, you know the pulse of your team. And if you feel that the pulse was that your defense was getting gashed and y'all really couldn't stop the Packers in the second half, and that's really what ended up happening. So, I mean, when you look at it in hindsight, the Packers drove the ball down the field. So I think Mike McCarthy had some validity to his, his decision to go for it there. 4th and 3 just kind of makes you go, If it was a 4th and 1, maybe, something like maybe you go for it like that.
4th and 3 is right at that line, too. Like,
yeah, man.
What if it was like 4th and 5? But they were at the same point in the field. So it would have been the same distance field goal.
You got to kick it. And I don't remember what happened on 3rd down with them. I don't really remember exactly how they got to that point. I do want to kind of look that up as we talk about it. But, the plays that lead up to it, that should be something that helps you determine what you're going to do on 4th down. So on 3rd and 3, it was an incomplete pass to CeeDee Lamb. And then on 4th and 3, It's an incomplete pass to Tony Pollard. They got a little bit of pressure on Dak Prescott on that play, too. There's some people in his face there.
It's a big game for Green Bay, too. You got – listen, we talked about this.
2nd and 19, bro. The Cowboys were at 2nd and 19 from their own 49-yard line on that drive, okay? And Prescott hit Schultz. Remember that? And then Schultz got hurt on that play. They're saying that Schultz is going to be out for a couple of weeks. So you were already pinned back at 2nd and 19, and then you get it to 3rd and 3 and don't get it. I think that's where he got a little greedy, maybe.
Listen, and then the play calling's a little suspect at 3rd and 3 too.
2 passes.
2 passes.
If you know you think he knew he was
going
to go for it on 4th
run.
down.
And that's the other thing too. It's like you gotta prepare yourself for that and set yourself up. I mean, I personally would have liked to see them run the ball there on 3rd and 3. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you were going to go for it on 4th down.
That says to me that he didn't have it. He didn't have the 2 plays mapped out. If you had the 2 plays mapped out, you got Tony Pollard in the backfield. Why wouldn't you just kind of like spread it out a little bit? I know you don't like shotgun runs, right? But 3rd and 3 is actually the perfect time to disguise
3rd
pass.
and 3, yeah. But 3rd and 1 is when I get a little upset. I'm not a fan of the. If you're gonna run the ball on 3rd and 1, listen. I tweeted Awthentik a picture of like a '92 Madden I formation play.
Oh yeah.
That's what I want on. That's what I want on 3rd and 1. I don't want shotgun pistol. You're now you got to get 6 yards basically to get 1 yard. Like it's just it doesn't make sense.
Even when you line up in the I formation, your running back is 5-6 yards at least behind the quarterback. Handoff probably happens at 3.5. You know. But I hear you. I know you don't like that. I'm a fan of that. And I just think 3rd and 3 is a good time to, like, you got to figure out if you're going for it on 4th down right there, and you got to tell yourself, okay, I need 3 yards in 2 plays. And to me, that he passed it on 3rd and 3, it kind of shows you that he wasn't thinking that. And then he was like, you know what? Screw it, man. Let's just go for it on 4th down here. Made a game time decision.
Yeah, I would have put the ball in Tony Pollard's hands, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, you know, I'm a big believer in Tony Pollard. And to be perfectly frank with you, he has proven in just this short – obviously, he's proven that he's a good running back, right? But in these last 2 games, or it's been 2 or 3 games, I think. 2,
I believe, without Zeke.
Since Ezekiel's been hurt, he's gone over 100+ each game.
Oh, you know what? It might
Is it 3 games?
It might have been 3 games because I feel like he had 1 game where he didn't go over 100.
It was 2 games, and they had the bye week in between the 2 games.
I got you. So
Dallas
every game now without Zeke Elliott, Tony Pollard has had 100 yards.
Yeah. He's a free agent at the end of this season.
They will be fools to not bring him back.
Are they going to be able to afford him?
They'll find a way, man. The Cowboys, dog, like I told you, man, I don't be counting these pockets, but the Cowboys, they're going to find a way to pay their players. I mean, they did it all the way up until this year. They had Amari Cooper and all these players, gave Dak the money, gave Zeke the money. You know, they've been paying these people, but you can't let Tony Pollard go. If anything, let Zeke go.
I do, yeah. And
find a way to trade him or something.
I'm a believer in that. I do want to say that
you don't like Zeke Elliott about as much as you don't like Taylor Heineke. They're right in the same ballpark. I noticed that. You'll do anything to say like they not doing good, or like if I be like, hey man, Taylor Heineke was throwing dots, it's like,
he was though. I gave him some flowers, but I do like how Mike McCarthy stood by his decision.
Yeah,
I thought that it was important. Shows that he's confident and in that offense. Look, Dallas has lost what now?
3 games.
Two games since Dak has been back. Am I wrong or am I right?
No, that's their first loss since Dak been back, right?
I thought it was their second. I might be mistaken.
I thought he came back against Detroit.
Oh, he did come back against Detroit. You're right. That was the mollywhopping. But they're calling for Dak's head early, which I think is unnecessary, obviously. Yeah. But it was good. CeeDee Lamb, you talked about stepping up. That was important. Outside of that, though, is still they're really lacking in that wide receiver position. And I think that's one of the reasons why Cowboy players try and recruit Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But listen, big respects, big shout-outs to the Green Bay Packers. They needed that game. We talked about the football gods. We talked about Lambeau Field. So, that's kind of how the cookies crumbled here.
Yeah, and the Packers got back on track. I don't know if you remember this. I talked about Sammy Watkins being owned at the line and their wide receiver core struggling like very mightily. And Watkins, he had 3 catches in this game. And if you look at the 3 plays, man, he was winning the one-on-one battles in this game. So it looks like they made that a point of emphasis. I also saw Aaron Rodgers made an appearance again on Pat McAfee. You know, he does Tuesdays on Pat McAfee. I love when they bring him in there. I don't understand, like, well, I do understand, but, like, at the same time, I don't understand why people hate Aaron Rodgers so much. They, like, it's kind of like the same thing that I feel like they're doing with Kyrie a little bit. It's like the narrative gets spread around, right? And then people just start running with the narrative. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. With Kyrie, why does he act like he's smarter than everybody is what the narrative that I feel like everybody's running with. But I'm like, where's the real evidence of that? Like, he's just speaking on his views. Aaron Rodgers, we know the whole thing with the COVID situation and all that, hiding the vaccination card, going and doing his own thing and whatnot. But I just don't understand why people hate this guy so much, because he's extremely transparent and just real.
And that's what I love about the guy.
That's what I love about him, man. He talked about the exchange that he had with LaFleur during this game, because he was seen by the cameras on the sideline screaming at LaFleur to run the ball on a certain situation. And he broke it down real, man. He was just like, look, in football, these things happen where somebody has an opinion on one thing one way and another person has an opinion like this. And it's our jobs to fight for that, you know, and that's why we come to the conclusion and we find the right play, and we actually came out with the W on top. He also talked about his relationship with Mike McCarthy and how a lot of people thought that the relationship was sour pretty much. And he was like, listen, man, I played football with Mike McCarthy for like 15 years, man. There were ups, there were downs, but people have inflated that. I got a lot of respect for Aaron Rodgers, man. I'm going to keep it real. And, if he had another Super Bowl under his belt, I think that, it'd be a no-brainer for these people that are kind of like acting like he's kind of falling off a cliff right now. You got to give these players some time, give them a chance. Let's not forget Tom Brady, man. Everybody was like, he's going to fall off the cliff, blah, blah, blah. And then he came out with the Bucs that first year and had one of the best years of his entire career, man. So I like what I'm seeing from Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, man. To get off that 5-game losing streak, it's tough. You've been on some losing teams, man, with me.
Yeah.
Where when you get to like 5, 6, 7, 8 losses in a row, it's so difficult to try to get your momentum and get your confidence back. And they spoke about this with Christian Watson, man. Big game, man. This was a big spot game right here for the Packers. Primetime across the country pretty much, man. And Christian Watson, with all the bright lights on him, showed up and showed out after having 2 major drops earlier in the season where people are looking at him like, bro, I don't know about Homie. Homie might not be the guy. I think he was drafted in the 3rd round possibly or something like that. Second round. Yeah. So he's not a first-round draft pick where you're looking at the guy like he's a bust. But at the end of the day, man, there was a lot of pressure on the kid, man. He made some really tough catches. If he drops that first bomb from Aaron Rodgers, they're going to be looking at him crazy. And I always talk about this. It was the hardest catch in football. Not only was that one over the shoulder, it was over his right outside shoulder. That's like the Manningham Super Bowl catch. It's one of the harder ones to make. So big shout-out to you for calling it, man, about Christian Watson, that he was a talent. He reminds me of a little baby Mike Evans out there, man. He's making big plays, man, and I'm here to see it, man. I always want to see these young players excel in the league, man, and make a name for themselves. It's good to see that the Packers have a wide receiver in that room that is going to step up, especially with Romeo Doubs out.
What's crazy is I want to say Aaron Rodgers might be top 5 or 6 in touchdown passes right now. Even with
I know.
The way
just a couple weeks ago, he had 10, I believe it was.
So I think he's probably at like 17 touchdowns maybe now.
No, is he that high?
I think so.
Is he? You like that pun? Is he that high? Doing mushrooms and whatnot, and all kind of crazy stuff. So,
he had 3 touchdowns.
Aaron, 17 touchdowns. Yeah, and 7 interceptions. Yep. Man, these dudes is throwing hella touchdowns, man. Patrick Mahomes got 25 touchdowns already. That's a whole season for some quarterbacks, man. He's got 25 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
What about Tua's probably up there too, right?
Tua's got 18. Joe Burrow's got 18. Josh Allen's got 20. And Geno Smith has 17 as well. Lamar Jackson has 16 passing touchdowns. Golly. Man, Daniel Jones got 8, right? Is that what Daniel Jones has? Let's go, man. Let's go. We winning games, dog.
Big shout out to our guy, Tuto
in the building.
With a $9.99 super chat, says massive salute to all diehard Giants fan in the chat. Hope everyone got Sky Sports Rugby Pass to witness how Tuto destroys South Africa losers next Saturday. Salute Italy.
Next Saturday. All right, that's what I'm going to put some on my schedule for that too, though. I definitely got the links for the Sky Sports vibes. Y'all already know I'm allegedly Mr. Know the Link for sure when it comes to stuff like that. But shout out to Tudo, man. We definitely appreciate you, man, supporting the channel, man. You know we couldn't do this without Tudo in the building. We definitely couldn't, man. I'm just scrolling the chat here, man. I'm just kind of seeing what people saying about my man Mike McCarthy one time. Look at what Yam said. Look what Yam said one time.
Mike McCarthy is a coaching equivalent of letting a bowl of vanilla ice cream sit out just a bit too long and melting, and then adding unsalted butter to it and letting it all melt together. Again.
Golly, they hating on my man Mike McCarthy one time, man. Shout out Yam in the building one time, man. I see a bunch of y'all, man. The chat is definitely booming today, man. Let's keep it pushing, man. I definitely want to talk about these New York Giants, man. We got a couple of clips we want to feature in this one. We're going to do a little short breakdown. Definitely been talking about this game for a good couple of days here, but let's talk about these Texans coming to New York to take on them New York Giants one time.
Are on the board with 11:16 to go here in the third.
All right, man. Our New York Giants, man, handled business against them Houston Texans one time, man. The Giants end up winning this game 24-16. Giants improved to 7-2 on the season. The Texans still only got one victory, man. 1-7-1. I feel like that could easily be us New York Giants, man. So I'm feeling for y'all Texans. I know what y'all are going through right now. Times will get better. Times will definitely get better. Don't give up on your man Davis Mills just yet, man. This is the third straight game for the offense without a turnover, man. 7 for 14 on third down. Solid work from this New York Giants offense, mainly on the back of the running game in this one, man. We definitely use that hashtag RTDB. Saquon had a damn game, man. 35 rushes for 152 yards, 4.3 yards per carry, 1 touchdown, and a long of 27 yards on the day. The Giants ran the ball 47 times, man. That's a whole lot of running. We only threw the ball 17 times in this game, 191 yards on the ground, and a touchdown on 47 attempts. The Giants' 47 carries were the most they've had in a game since 2010. That was November of 2010, so it's been pretty much an exact 12 years, man, since the New York Giants have rushed that many times in one game. Giants are running the ball on 53.6% of their snaps. And that might not sound like that much to a lot of people out there, but only 5 teams in the NFL are above 50% right now. Giants are averaging 34.4 runs per game. They're averaging more rushing yards per game than they are passing yards. I don't know the last team that's been a thing, but the Giants are definitely a winning football team, finding ways to win games on the back of Saquon Barkley and his defense, and Daniel Jones, playing mistake-free football, man. Like I said, another game, no turnovers. Saquon Barkley still leads the NFL in second half attempts with 120. The next closest player, I tweeted this out this morning, is Nick Chubb. He's got 81 attempts in the second half. So Saquon Barkley's got him by about 39. I wanted to send a big shout out to the homie Sal. I believe I'm on Twitter. He goes by Queens Guy. I've been telling him for a while, man. This dude, when it comes to numbers, this dude is one of the better people in Giants Twitter. I was telling him, if he were to start a channel, definitely holler at me, man. I think this dude needs, the Giants community needs a personality who's going to just dive deep into these numbers. I'm not talking about just the regular numbers that we like to dive into on the show. I'm talking about this dude be saying terminology that I really don't even know. But he posted one today that was really awesome about Saquon Barkley and facing 8-man boxes. So Saquon Barkley right now is facing an 8-man box on almost 30% of his runs. It's the 7th most in the NFL right now, up to week 10. The Texans only aligned in 2-high shell 11% of the snaps. That did not phase Saquon Barkley at all. So most of the time, the Texans were rolling with one safety with another guy in the box, and Saquon Barkley still had the 35 carries for 152 yards. I love how Brian Dable just said, they can't stop it. We're going to keep running the ball. And Sal ended that tweet by saying the Giants are a running team, and I definitely agree with him on that 100%. But the Beard, I've talked about this game, man, for 2 whole damn days, man. I was outside talking about this game. I was in the studio talking about this game. Shout out to everybody that pulled up for the Giant overreaction on Monday. That was a really good vibe. But I want to know what your perspective was on this Giant win against the Texans.
I mean, first and foremost, listen, I am loving this. RTDB is getting some steam. That's
that RTDB right there.
RTDB is like GameStop, AMC. It's catching some heat. I'm seeing everybody talk about it now. So
lately, AMC, man. Whew, AMC is looking like them Houston Texans right now.
That's about everything. But listen, if you guys are out there in the world of hashtag using, so like, I guess you could use hashtags for everything. For those of you that don't know, let's keep it real. It's the pound sign, okay? Don't forget the pound sign RTDB, okay, on your Twitters, your Instagrams, your Facebooks. But look, 47 carries. I love it. I love it. I love it.
It's not quite Washington. We're gonna get there, but
hey, I mean, you're not too far behind.
We're not too far.
I mean, listen, you know what you got to do to win the game. You know what you're good at, and you do that. And you execute. That's what it's all about. I mean, this coaching staff has finally figured it out. I mean, not this year, but I mean, like compared to the previous regimes,
for sure.
They know what they're doing. They know what these players can and can't do.
Let me pause you real quick. Let me pause you real quick and ask you a question. I'm glad you brought that up about the previous regimes and whatnot. Now, we did see in 2021, I know Saquon was coming back off the knee injury, right? How much do you credit this running attack from the New York Giants to Brian Dable, the rest of his coaching staff, Mike Kafka, everybody included, right? And the minimal upgrades, I'll say, that we made on the offensive line. Like, how much do you, to make it simpler, how much are you crediting to Saquon Barkley running on a healthy knee?
Oh, I mean, it's tough to know from the outside, but if I had to, give a number, I'd say 65% Saquon
I'm right there with you, man, because the way I think that he needed that test. He needed that challenge. He talked about being a guy who pretty much went through his whole entire career and never had no lows like that where when he blew out the ACL and people doubting his ability. That's the thing that I think he hadn't dealt with in his entire career. And then you come into a season where people are calling you a bust and they're saying all these bad things. The Giants should have never drafted a running back at number 2. Dave Gettleman's an idiot, which that still remains true. That does ring true, but not for drafting Saquon Barkley, if you ask me. And I think he needed that chip on his shoulder, man, to really put this me against the world Tupac kind of vibe and go, you know what? Stay on that side. And don't worry about me because I'm going to get mine. And he worked in the offseason. You can see it in these runs, man. He's running more physical. I saw 2 runs to start this game, and I was like,
cuts too that he makes.
Yeah,
the
man.
The cuts, too, that he makes.
In tight little traffic.
Those are vintage Saquon cuts, too. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of it is, a lot of times people are like, oh, he does early on, especially like in the in-between year with coming back from the injury. A lot of people are like, oh, he does too much dancing for Saquon. Too many negative yard plays by Saquon.
Right.
His confidence is there. I think his vision has gotten better. His jump cuts, his cuts in general are fantastic. But the percentage that goes to the coaching staff is there's games where Saquon might be averaging 2.1, 2.9,
right.
3.1 sort of carries, right? But they never go away from the run. They still feed him the rock because they know it's a rhythm thing. They know that eventually he's going to break a play. And to me, that goes to coaching because too many times do we see these coaches in the NFL, not as much now in these past couple of weeks, but generally speaking over the last, couple of seasons when it became a pass-happy league
right.
where, they're like they feed the guy a couple of times. If he gets 3 yards, it's like a disappointment. But we saw how
look at it like that.
We saw how effective 3 yards back to back is 6 yards. That leaves you with 3rd and 4. You're taking 3rd and 4 over 2 incomplete passes and 3rd and 10 any day of the week.
And the Giants have dealt with 3rd and long so much that you'll take 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5 all day. Those are manageable. When you get to them 3rd and 12s, man, them 3rd and 10s, those 3rd and longs, that's when it's a recipe for disaster. But I definitely agree with you, man. I do think a lot of it has to do with the coaching. And the timing is just perfect with Saquon Barkley, with the chip on his shoulders, trained in the offseason. The leg looks healthy. I don't want to jinx the man or nothing like that. But he's running fantastic. And, I mean, this is going to be Saquon's first 1,000-yard season. He's just like 70 yards away now from 1,000 since 2019. So he's getting back, man. He's getting back, and I'm here for it, man. It's a beautiful thing, man. And the Giants, the passing attack is kind of struggling a little bit. And the one narrative that I kind of want to, at least after week 10 of football here, that I want to kind of just throw in the garbage is that Saquon Barkley is eating because of Daniel Jones' running capabilities. Now, I love Daniel Jones' running capabilities. It is an added factor for the New York Giants, but I think it does nothing for Saquon's going to get his, regardless.
Saquon's going to do what Saquon does.
You can line up that box, and Saquon's going to get the yards.
Yeah, and listen, 8 in the box, that's Derrick Henry, that's Nick Chubb. and now it's Saquon Barkley.
Right.
And you know what's crazy? A lot of people probably never really looked at Saquon Barkley as a eight in the box, I'm still gonna run the ball sort of running back. They looked at him a little bit more of a not flashy, but more of not necessarily a grinding in the middle of it sort of running back.
Yeah,
you know
he was
what I'm
still
saying?
in that hybrid running back category, I feel like. But now, I mean, I still do think that Saquon is a hybrid, but he's the best of the best kind of hybrids, man. Like those style of running backs, even we were talking about this on the parlay, how I'm like, man, Austin Eckler is redefining what is happening in fantasy football because he's really not even running the ball that much. He's not getting great yardage when he's rushing. I think he had back-to-back games with under 37 yards on the ground. But in those games, I think you should notice that, was it 28 targets in the 2 games or something like that?
It was 23 receptions in those 2 games.
You know, so they're using him as more of a passing kind of running back. And I do think the Chargers are definitely struggling a little bit. If they had, could you imagine like if Herbert had a ground attack like what, you know, Daniel Jones is working with right now, or what we saw Taylor Heineke working with on Monday night, like Herbert would be that much more deadly. But instead, they're kind of using Eckler over there as a receiving style of running back. And for me, man, this is why I would stay away from most hybrid running backs. We got to look for hybrid running backs that have this kind of a skill set like a Saquon Barkley that can also do the power stuff in between the tackles as well. And when people were doubting Saquon last year, I saw it all up and down Twitter, all these content creators talking about it. Oh, he's tiptoeing, won't hit the hole. I'm like,
all the tiptoeing.
what you want this man to do when he gets the handoff and there's 3 men in the backfield? Just plummet into the wall and just, what do these people expect?
Yeah, you definitely have to give some credit to the offensive line. And I think that goes to coaching too. You know, the coaching staff figuring out how to, you know, create better running lanes for Saquon Barkley. And, you know, you talked about the passing attack not being necessarily crazy, right? Or I think you said not being effective, right? The passing game not being. To me, it's what's the most effective thing about a passing attack is not turning the ball over. And this is another game without a turnover. 0 turnovers in this game. I would love a game of 0 turnovers.
Yeah, with Taylor Heineke, that's going to be tough, man, because I think he's got 4 starts now. He's got an interception in every one of those starts. It's definitely wild. But we got a super chat here one time.
Big shout out to OBX Picker for the $1.99 super chat. Says congrats on the W's, fellas. Appreciate you. I was recording with OBX and the squad earlier today when Caster cast it out.
Oh, did his little clunk when it cast it out. So wait, did you do the update during the show?
No,
we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there. All right.
we'll get there.
So, but I also did want to give
one more for
Stephen Lilly for the £2 super chat. 26-8 got against the world bromance, and I love it. I think that is an absolutely incredibly important point because the two of them together. I hope they find a way. You know, this is from outside speaking. You know, but I hope they find a way for the two of them to stick together because I do think that. It's important to have some sort of nucleus like that, and I think they work
ride
well
or die
together.
for each other too, man. I like that. Like Saquon's always trying to hold down Daniel Jones and vice versa. And this was a good one from Marjorie too. I like this one as well.
The entire team has a chip on their shoulders with free agents that are given a second chance. Isaiah Hodgins, who I loved coming out of college, by the way. Phillips, McLeod, and Pinnock. Cager, God, I can't even know some of these guys. Cager,
Lawrence Cager.
Jefferson, Mondu, and
Jalen Smith had
I know
God.
Jalen Smith because that's my guy from Notre Dame and ex-Washington football teamer Fabian Monroe.
Yes, sir.
There's some interesting guys there.
One time,
interesting guys there. And you know, speaking of a lot of those guys, you know, on defense, the last thing I want to say about this game is, that New York Giants red zone defense, absolutely legit. The Houston Texans were 1 for 6 in the red zone.
Ooh, good God.
1 for 6.
I told you I didn't want to look at that stat, and I didn't want you to tell it to me until we got on air. 1 for 6 is crazy, and you can't forget the 2 turnovers, man, from this defense late. Both of those were within the Giants' 30-yard line. One of them was on the 8-yard line, the fumble from Leonard Williams that he forced on Dameon Pierce, and then the interception from Dane Belton filling in for Xavier McKinney, man. So 1 for 6, golly. That Texans were in that game. They just made too many mistakes, man. That was really it.
Think about that. If you go 2 for 6, that's a completely different game. Yet alone 3 or 4 for 6 just to be in the red zone 6 times.
I know.
That's great. That's hell of a strong back against the wall defense by the New York Giants. So definitely big shout out to that defense, and especially the red zone defense. I've been keying in on those red zone stats all year long, and I think it's so important because this game is, it's so cliche. The game is a game of inches, but or a point here, a point there. The difference between 3 and 7 and 0 and 3 and a missed extra point, like it's all very important. And every stop matters, and that's been evident, especially in games like Washington against the Chicago Bears. So that 1 for 6 is something that you hang your hat on if you're a New York Giants fan and if you're a New York Giants defensive player. Big shout out to Theodore Iziki for the $2 super chat. It says Giants squad, land of the misfit toys. I like it.
I like it. Big facts. Giants Nation in the building. I think Theodore's a new face. I don't remember seeing Theodore up in here, man.
Brand
Welcome
new,
to
man.
the fam.
Appreciate you joining us, man. Welcome to the fam of lamb. Big shout out to Fabian. Appreciate the $2 super chat. Do you think they are overworking the horse and boo Washington?
Oh, okay. I was wondering what that said right there. The horse, I thought it was like, hey, boo, can you give me a glass of water kind of vibe, you know what I'm saying? Even though I don't call my shorty boo, but I like that though.
TV
Boo Washington now after they got that dub against the Eagles here, and they trying to, try to come for our New York Giants one time, but definitely shout out to Fabian one time, man. Appreciate you pulling up.
I don't think they're overworking the horse though. I think that Saquon's built for this. I think that's what it's in reference to. I think that he's built for this, and they're doing a good job of spacing it out, I feel like. I think that's the biggest thing. And you mentioned that a couple of times, and the differences between, first half and second half carries and stuff like that. So there'll be a time.
He doesn't have like too much pride either. When he's tired or he feels banged up, you've seen him do this a lot and he'll run to the sidelines. I like that. That's a good thing. And Matt Breida comes in the game and he does damage. I really like Matt Breida, man. And last year and the year before that, I was really, really, really banging the table, being like, the Giants need to bring in a legitimate second running back to pair with Saquon Barkley. I did think that Booker was he was a solid running back. I thought Devontae Booker was pretty decent, but I think that his running style, and I wouldn't have known this at the time, this is in hindsight, Matt Breida fits the style better because he can do everything that Saquon Barkley does. Maybe not to that high of a level, but you don't get this massive drop off.
Is there.
The versatility is there. He can catch the ball at the backfield. He can run between the tackles a good bit. He's fast to hit those holes on the outside. I really like Matt Breida, and I hope they can find a way to bring him back next season as well.
And big shout out to Zach for the $4.99 super chat. Says Washington killed the 11-0 Steelers. I talked about this little thing. Killed the 11-0 Steelers and the 8-0 Eagles. I guess Washington doesn't like losing in Pennsylvania. NFC least to beast. Go Giants. Shout out to Zach. Appreciate you, brother.
Big facts.
As always. But interesting game. But look. New York Giants, man, finding a way to do it. 7-2 sounds
crazy. It sounds crazy. The Giants got 7 wins already. Man, a couple more wins, but the schedule is going to get extremely tough. But we're not done with this one, man. So I had 2 clips that I wanted to bring up for during this game because I tweeted out one of these earlier on Twitter, and it just went berserk. Everybody, man, people are just so miserable. Some people are miserable, but I won't harp on that. There was a lot of great conversations in this thread about this quote from Paul Schwartz that was talking about when he had asked Brian Dable if we would be able to gain victories throwing the ball over 35 times when that time comes. And this is the clip from Paul Schwartz. Check it out.
Here's a question I posed to Brian Dable on Monday. If you can't run the ball, if there comes a time in the second half of the season where you have to throw it 35, 40 times to win the game, can you? Brian Dable said, I don't know. He said, we practice for it. We practice every day for it, but I don't know. He didn't say we can do it. I'm confident in everything. He doesn't know. Look, Brian Dable came to the Giants from Buffalo with a reputation of wanting to throw the ball. He's had some incredible games at calling the plays for Buffalo where they threw it almost all the time. And so he comes to the Giants. He sees what they have. Saquon Barkley's healthy. I think he looks at this offensive line as they're better run blockers than pass blockers. So this is a running team. Now, throwing the ball 17 times and winning is incredible. In the fourth quarter of this game against the Texans, the Giants did not attempt a pass. They had 14 plays, and they didn't. Not one of them was a pass. That is amazing. Can they do it? I don't think they can do it. And look, Seattle shut down Saquon Barkley, and the Giants struggled to score anything. So, that's the next frontier for this team. Can they do it? I think Daniel Jones can do it. I don't think the receivers and the offensive line can do it. We'll see. We'll see if the Giants can do it. It'll be very interesting.
That's Paul Schwartz from the New York Post, man. He's a beat writer for the New York Giants. I think he made a bunch of great points in that, man, because the Seattle game was one where Saquon Barkley was stopped, crucially. I think he only had 52 yards in that game. And the point that he brought up about the Giants not throwing the ball in the entire fourth quarter, there was one time where they tried to throw it and Daniel Jones got sacked, but 14 plays, no passes. And I think, a lot of people, I saw it on Twitter, man, a lot of people were like, why aren't the Giants throwing the ball? Even after that turnover that we got where Leonard Williams forced a fumble and we were within our own 6-yard line, people were like, why aren't they passing the ball? And my response to that was, you're pinned back in your own territory. I'm not saying go out here and do a Joe Judge and just do 2 quarterback sneaks. But you are trying to drain some clock, and trying to just make sure you don't make that big mistake to allow the Texans to get back in the game. So I thought that was a great point. But I did want to run through some of these numbers. Daniel Jones, 197 yards passing, 17 attempts, man. That's barely nothing. 13 completions. You can't forget the drops from Kenny Golladay. We haven't talked about Kenny Golladay too much on this one, but if you want to hear some Kenny Golladay takes, definitely go back to that Giant overreaction if you missed it. We talked about that a ton in that one. But the 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, the most important number on this whole stat line, and the QBR remains high. Daniel Jones is back at ranked number 7 in the NFL in QBR right now. He was only sacked 3 times in this game, but some of the numbers that could be a little bit alarming for some fans here is Jones right now, he ranks 22nd in the NFL in attempts. He's averaging 26.3 attempts per game. And I'll go over some of the numbers from 2019, 2020, and 2021. So 2019, he averaged 35 attempts a game, but we were losing a ton of games. But now you're talking about being down 10 attempts pretty much. In 2020, he averaged 32 attempts, and in 2021, he averaged 32.8 attempts. Giants have the 29th ranked pass offense right now, averaging 161 yards passing per game. That's nothing. In 9 games, the Giants have scored just 3 passing touchdowns total in the first half, bro. We're talking 9 games here. 3 touchdowns in the first half throwing the ball. And the Giants are the first team in NFL history to start 7-2 or better with all of their wins coming by 1 score. So we're just sneaking out of these games on the back of our coaching staff. Obviously, it doesn't look that much different to me from when Joe Judge was here last year, outside of how they're managing the game late. I felt like in the beginning of the season of 2020 and 2021, Joe Judge and Jason Garrett were trying to put the ball in Daniel Jones' hands. And with that offensive line, there were so many mistakes that would happen that would cause us to lose games, from false start penalties to holding penalties to interceptions, bonehead plays from the quarterback, just across the board, wide receivers dropping balls. Like we had virtually no running game last season, right? Yeah. And now you turn that around, and it seems like the real only difference is Brian Daboll is focusing in on his best player on the offensive side of the ball, which is Saquon Barkley, especially this year. But to not throw the ball in the fourth quarter now, this is 2 games. Against the Jacksonville Jaguars, they only had 1 throw in the fourth quarter. Is Brian Daboll learning, from what he saw in Carolina where Daniel Jones almost threw that interception, and now just being like, you know what, I'm going to make sure that we are extremely cautious when it comes time around the end of these games to figure out how we're going to win these games. And you talked about this. You made a really good point about this. The Giants are running the ball when they're behind. And you always talk about that. I'll be like, man, you get down a certain amount of points, though. You got to abandon the run. And you're like, man, I don't know, 17 points? I'm still running the ball. And that's what the New York Giants are doing. It does seem like that the league is kind of trending back towards running the ball a lot more. I talked about this tweet on the Giant Overreaction. I really wanted to go over this one again for people that missed that show. But Carl Banks was saying, for all of y'all who have a problem with how the Giants won today, take a quick look at the rushing stats around the league for the teams that won. Most of them rushed for 150 yards or more. So, yeah, keep crying hungry with a loaf of bread under your arms. And he talked about all these teams that actually won by rushing for over 150 yards. And shout out to Mark Reynolds, who another Twitter user came in and posted a note that had all these games on there. So the Bucs ran for over 150. The Vikings almost ran for 150. They were just 3 yards short. The Chiefs, the Dolphins, the Steelers, the Colts, the Packers, the Niners, and the New York Giants, and now you can include the Washington Commanders on that list, all ran for over 150 yards and all got wins in week 10. So to me, it does say that we are leaning back towards a little bit more of this rushing kind of a vibe. And until Daniel Jones and this offense really gets some weapons out there, you got to play it safe. I don't want to see us throwing the ball 35 times until we got to throw the ball 35 times. That's my thoughts on it.
100%. And before I give you my answer, I thought this was an interesting little nugget here by Anthony Bluegrass Picker, who is a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Patrick Mahomes, 66.9% completion percentage, 7 interceptions. Daniel Jones, 65%, 2 interceptions. Both have 7 wins.
That's a really solid point, and that's gonna. I gotta look up team rushing stats because how much is the Kansas City Chiefs rushing the ball? They gotta be down at the bottom of the league, right?
They have to be. I want to say like they're probably averaging under 100 yards rushing a game, maybe.
I know, right? You would think that. The Chiefs are. They're not down dead at the bottom here. I don't think. Let me see. Rushing yards.
Maybe like
Chiefs
110.
Are, I'm looking down at that bottom. They're not down at that bottom. They're middle of the pack. They're middle of the pack right now. Yeah, they're middle of the pack. Sitting at, they're ranked 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 17th in the NFL.
Interesting.
4.5 yards per carry. Yeah, that is interesting. 7 wins is 7 wins. It don't matter how you get them, right? But like showing those stats up there, man, showing you that you can win games in a multitude of ways in the NFL. You don't got to just look at all the unicorn quarterbacks and the special kind of offensive coordinators like the McVays and the, Shanahans and all these people. I mean, you can win games gritty and ugly. Giants are proving that right now.
Absolutely. For me, this is a thing that what kind of rubs me the wrong way about this narrative, or a narrative that was going around based upon that clip, was that the Giants have no faith in Daniel Jones.
I know.
Okay.
A lot of people looking to run with that.
What it is what is happening in New York is what so many fans around the National Football League on teams who don't have winning records or don't make the playoffs, and teams like Washington that beg their coaches to do what's best for their players. Mm-hmm. So many times coaches want to force players to work in their system as opposed to creating a system that works best for the players on the field. And you talked about Dable, who comes from a passing background, and what is he doing? He doesn't come here and try to force the passing. He comes here and realizes he has one of the best running backs in all of football. What else would you do? If you had one of the best running backs in all of football, what do you do with it? You run the damn ball.
You do. And this offensive line, they seem to be better at run blocking as well, especially when you got Daniel Bellinger out of the lineup. I do think that the offense moves a little bit different when you got Daniel Bellinger. You didn't see like a lot of those little play actions, Bellinger leaking out to the flats. You're not seeing that from the other tight ends as much as you saw that from Bellinger. And I do think he's a piece when it comes to pass protection as well, keeping that extra tight end in. But you're right. And Brian Dable, when he first got over, well, not when he first got over to Buffalo, but when Josh Allen first got over there and they drafted him, the first year or two, they were more of a run team. They didn't start throwing the ball like that until they got to the playoffs, and when they got Stephon Diggs, that's when you started to see these, Buffalo Bills teams that like completely just neglect the run all damn game. And you see these pass happy kind of game plans.
And my thing is to absolutely answer the question. I think they can, and I wouldn't put too much weight into to Dable's answer.
Yeah.
Because I also saw somebody point this out on Twitter where they were saying, that's kind of like what he's been doing his entire time here so far with that sort of answer. Low expectations, exceeding the expectations, that sort of situation. Like, you don't want to just give it all away in one answer sort of situation. And I think that it's been proven, it's been shown. Daniel Jones has made some big throws in very important third downs on very important drives throughout this season. And I think that shows more faith in a quarterback than throwing the ball 35 times a game. A lot of times when these games are thrown 35 times a game is when, players are just or teams are completely out of it, or coaches have given up on the run too early, or you have a crazy quarterback like Patrick Mahomes who's going to throw the ball damn near 70 times, Tom Brady who's going to throw the ball damn near 70 times, and sometimes you're going to go up against a team who has a run defense that is just elite.
Yep.
But besides
Maybe
those
a
situations,
shootout or something like that.
yeah,
That's
a
about it.
shootout, you know,
Yeah.
crazy sort of situational game where it's back and forth, back and forth. But I personally don't think it. Maybe it's a good thing that Daniel Jones doesn't have to throw the ball 35 times a game.
It is, man. And people did present stats in that thread today, man. And most of the stats that they presented show that when you throw the ball over 35 times, that's mainly a losing recipe for the most part. You know, so, but I do like the way that Paul Schwartz worded it. You know, he said, when the time comes when you have to. That's what I liked about the way he worded it, because it's not like he was just clamoring down saying, hey, we want to see the guy throw the ball and chuck it up like some fans we are seeing on Twitter. Like, I want to see more deep passing. It's like, bro, I don't care. I just want to see more wins. At the end of the day, I trust Brian Dable in this offense to be able to handle business, man, and go out there and do what they got to do to get the wins. And for an old school person like me, even though, you know, I played more the finesse positions. I liked to throw the ball when I played quarterback, and playing wide receiver, I was open every play. You know what it is. but you know, as an old school OG like myself, I like to see the running game, man. When I first got introduced to watching the New York Giants, Rodney Hampton was my favorite player, man. That dude was a bruiser gang, running people over all day, man. So I'm here for it, man. I'm glad the New York Giants are finding a way to win games without having to, you know, put too much on Daniel Jones' tray.
Big shout out to ENA. We got time for the $4.99 super chat. Says, what up, fellas? Sorry I'm late. Victory week for us. But no offense, TH4, Taylor Heineke. Copying Cousins on the plane, a little corny. Y'all thoughts?
It was a little corny. It was. I thought it might have been an older picture, but I guess it was a newer picture. Yeah, that was a little corny.
If they would have beaten the Minnesota Vikings,
it would have been good.
It would have been good.
And you know, he seemed like he got, you know, it's kind of like Eli Manning, right? When I saw Eli Manning with Fabio Foreign and Eli's doing like this, I'm like, you got baited into that, bro. They caught you. Taylor Heineke got baited. They were probably like, man, put the chains on, dog. Put the chains on. He's like, oh, man, screw it. All right.
Take a picture. Hey!
Now you on the gram. That's going to be some memes running around for sure. But, yeah, I definitely feel you on that, ENA. It was a little corny. They're not playing the Vikings, so, like, what's the point of that? Don't make no sense, man. That was wild.
Big shout out to Theodore. Back again with a $2 super chat. Says Dable under promises and over delivers. Exactly what was the point I was trying to make. I just didn't use the correct words like you did. But yeah, that's exactly what I was
normally work in normal circumstances? You know, let's say at a regular day-to-day office job or something like that. If you did that with the boss, you know, and you under promised, you know, didn't set high expectations for yourself, but then you do deliver, it's still a good thing, right?
Yeah, you gotta know how to finesse it though. You gotta be smooth with it. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, you know, like I do, you know, online sales, right? So I tell people it's gonna take me 3 days to, you know, process and ship the item. But when I process it and ship it in 1 day and they get it, they be like, oh, it got here early. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, there are certain situations, and I just think that too many times athletes and coaches, not necessarily to their fault, but just the way that things have evolved with media and things like that, it's so easy to not even do it purposefully, but just accidentally put your foot in your mouth. And, you know, the smart people you don't have to be Belichick and be like, we're on to Miami.
Yeah, every question, right?
You don't have to be like that, but you know,
Detroit.
to have that sort of in between is good to have for a head coach. And I think that, you know, it's unfortunate. You're 7-2 when people are out here like,
yeah, literally. I'm telling you, man, I see people. Somebody, I don't know if they were trolling or not, but somebody on that thread said we got to get rid of Brian Dable immediately. I'm like, what are you watching, bro? Like, what games are you watching, dog? Like, we're literally winning. Half the reason why we're winning is because of coaching, man. And I think that this is a good point here that Bookend Tackles brought up too. The funny thing is Dable is delivering what Judge promised, like gritty, blue collar, you know, grimy football, tough out wins, you know, a team that will represent the city. All of that. This is that team right now. And I was talking to an entertainer on Twitter earlier today, man. And I was like, man, you know, we might not be able to be in this position again, man, like in the next couple years. There's no telling that, you know, that this regime is going to have this team sitting at great records like this for the whole time that they're here. And you know me, I've been talking about the schedule, man. I do feel that the schedule is making things a little bit easier for the New York Giants. And I think that's going to bring me to this next point, because I did want to highlight two clips from the national media. I told the Beard we kind of going to do a little bit of the Giant overreaction vibes over here today during the Giants segment. But that prompts me to ask this, and I'll finish telling y'all what me and Tanner was talking about after I cue this clip one time.
It's time where the Giants have to fully believe in Daniel Jones, because you have no other choice this year, by the way, and put someone around him who can make him excel and look elite. That guy is Odell Beckham Jr. The Cowboys lost yesterday, and he doesn't want to go to Dallas because if he's in Dallas, it's a different world. It's a different kind of hate if he doesn't perform the way he performs regularly. If he comes to New York, or when he comes to New York, Daniel Jones gets better. This Giants team now really has a shot in the postseason, and we'll be on cloud 9 if that should happen. So I'm calling for. Last week we kind of danced around. Well, Odell could do this. I'm calling for the Giants to go get Odell because Daniel Jones has proven that he can be the leader. He just needs some elite talent in the wide receiver room.
Man, now shout out to Tiki Barber, man, and also shout out to NY Revival. I think they got a stream tonight with the rapper Ransom on their stream tonight. So if you, when you're done checking us out or whatever, definitely go check them out. That should be a really good video, man. I'm a big fan of Ransom. But I talked to Tiki Barber on their channel in the offseason briefly about the quarterback situation and what he thought about it, right? And his tone has definitely changed, as well as mine. I mean, both of us were like pretty much in agreement back then in the summer that like the Giants were probably going to move on from Daniel Jones. He's going to have to find a way to light it up this year. I remember when we were doing stat predictions and stuff, I was saying Daniel Jones is going to need like a Pro Bowl season to remain a Giant. Now, we don't know, that might still be the case. I have seen a lot of people on national media, national TV talking about, hey, Daniel Jones needs to finish this season better than he started it if he still wants to be a New York Giant next year. Now, I think that there's a little bit of gray area there for sure, but I think that Tiki Barber makes some really good points, and this is what I was talking about with Tanner. I was like, man, you got to go out there and maybe go get a certain wide receiver that y'all, kind of banned us from talking about on their channel, because I can remember a time where Tanner and Bad Dog were like, all right, last time I'm going to talk about this Odell Beckham thing, okay? And I'll be in the chat clowning heavy, yo. But, I think that maybe there's a chance that within this Daniel Jones window, right? I agree with Tiki Barber on this. Like, how long of a window do we have here with Daniel Jones? Like, we're sitting at 7-2, man. We've won some close games. I gave y'all the nugget at the beginning of this opening of this segment here about the Giants being the only 7-2 team to have all their wins come by one score, man. So we're skinning out of these games, barely winning these games, right? I think that the time, and y'all know I'm a huge Odell Beckham fan, but I do think that he's the only wide receiver right now in the market that you could pick up in free agency that could come in and make an impact on this team. The trade deadline has came and went. The Jerry Jeudy talk, the Brandon Cooks talk. Who else was they talking about coming to New York for a trade? I know there was another 2 or 3 wide receivers there in the mix, right? There's nobody out there like an Odell Beckham. There's nobody out there like that, right? And if he could get back to playing the kind of football that he once was, I do think that I won't say that Odell could come back and be like a bona fide number 1 like he once was in New York, but if you compare him with guys like Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, Daniel Bellinger come back healthy, this wide receiver room will automatically upgrade, and you can then make a true run and I'm not saying you can't make a run without making a move at a wide receiver, but making an aggressive move on Odell Beckham right now and bringing him in from free agency, for one, you already know the ticket sales going to go up. They're going to go crazy. New York is going to be ecstatic to have him back. Even those people that were running around saying, screw Odell when we traded him and all that, all those people's tunes have changed now. They all want to see Odell back because they see the maturity, they see it's a different guy, and they see it's a player who can still make plays. I mean, this guy came in 8 games, had 8 touchdowns with the Los Angeles Rams en route to a Super Bowl and was pretty much looking like the Super Bowl MVP before tearing his knee. I think I kind of agree with Tiki Barber on this, man. I think that the Giants should go out there and try to get him. You don't want to see him sign with the Cowboys and then have them be a problem. It's looking like we might get 4 NFC East teams in the playoffs. That hope is still alive. And if you see Odell Beckham on the other side of the ball making plays with CeeDee Lamb, Zeke Elliott, Tony Pollard, and Dak Prescott, I'm going to feel some kind of way. I'm going to be on my Rich Homie Quan vibes, okay? I'm going to feel some kind of way. I want to see Odell Beckham get back on the field and just be able to, make an impact on any team. But I think that the situation right now could be perfect. Odell Beckham has been on Twitter chopping it up with, I want to say the homie's name is Doug Rush. And also chopping it up with License Plate Guy and saying stuff like, man, I got love for the city, there's nothing else in my heart that I would rather have than to go there and win a Super Bowl with the New York Giants. I really think that the window is right there. Now, I don't want you to go out here and make a big mistake, right? Like how we did with Kenny Galladay, you pressing to get that number one wide receiver in here. But if you could get Odell Beckham in here for a relatively reasonable contract, like don't go out here and spend some crazy bag on him, but go out there and maybe try to just make an aggressive move, make an offer, and see if Odell is down. I think Odell Beckham, this was the marriage that should have already been here when Daniel Jones was drafted in 2019. It's so damn unfortunate that we never got to see Daniel Jones with Odell Beckham because that could have been something. Now that you're seeing the way that Daniel Jones runs this read option, these bootlegs, getting these runs, imagine if you had Odell Beckham out there in 2019 doing this damage as well. Me, I'm 100% all for it. The percentage of it actually happening, though, I'm going to say it's kind of slim, like 15% chance that this could possibly happen. What's your thoughts on it?
It all makes perfect sense. Now, I did see Beige Boys talk about, which brought up a really good point, which kind of throws in a wrench into this whole situation as, like, within the last couple of hours. And that's the news of Cooper Kupp going to the IR. So he's on the IR. He's getting surgery. So he's going to be out for a while. The only thing about that is the Rams are kind of out a little too far out of the mix. But it's definitely like if you wanted to make a splash and if a team was going to make a splash and a last-ditch effort, I mean, who better to do it than the Rams? Now, that being said, another thing that I see people talking about in the chat is how much money it's going to cost. I don't know where people are getting this assumption of, like, Odell Beckham's going to cost you a lot of money. Like, first of all, you know, he's coming off of an injury.
Yep.
Nobody signed him to this point. People saying $20 million a year. There's absolutely
no way.
He won't even.
You got to understand. The deal that he signed with the Rams was for like under $5 million.
Yeah.
The 1-year deal was under $5 million. He made a better name for himself now, but he's not commanding no $20 million.
Media saying $30 million?
No free agent wide receiver should command $20 million after that Kenny Galladay and Allen Robinson vibes that happened there, man, with them with Chicago and then him going to the Rams.
I think you can get him. Reports said he wanted a multi-year deal and upwards of $18 million a year. Maybe in the off season, you might be able to sign a contract like that. Nobody's gonna sign him and give him a multi-year deal.
20. The media said 20.
Yeah. No,
I don't know,
maybe after the season, nobody's going to sign him to a multi-year deal after week 10 in the season. That's just not going to happen. What would happen is they probably sign him with an option or sign him, you know, with a deal and then maybe restructure or renegotiate an extension at the end of the season. But he's not. Listen, if he wants to play, he's going to play. And I think going to New York makes sense. It's a completely fresh slate outside of the owner, right?
Yep.
Completely fresh slate outside of the owner, which makes a big deal.
The general manager.
But that's what I'm saying. Like outside, the only person is the owner.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it would make sense. And I think especially going for the fact that they didn't make a deal at the deadline. I think that this has been on their radar and will be on their radar until something happens because they didn't make a move. And like, what's better than not giving up draft picks and getting a wide receiver after the trade deadline for a very low price?
And then
you're not losing
still draft wide receiver in the first couple of
Exactly.
rounds next year, but you possibly bring in a stud into an offense, you know, with Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, Odell Beckham Jr., you know, and Daniel Bellinger right there at tight end, man, and try to address the depth pieces here, you know, and increase the value of the depth people at wide receiver as well, because I think that we're struggling with the depth pieces as well, man. You got guys, Richie James now is a guy that they can't even rely on, it seems like. He's not even really getting snaps at wide receiver much anymore. And, you know, I thought that the offense was going to revolve around Wan'Dale Robinson a little bit more, and that hasn't been the case. So I think Wan'Dale, you know, so far, it's just been okay. I'm not saying that he can't ramp it up.
I see the talent. I see the capability. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you don't see what he can be. It's probably, you know, the injuries definitely set him back. Let's just be honest about that.
Yeah.
But with
and
Odell,
I see that Eddie Nash said that Godwin signed for 20 after tearing his ACL up there too. So that's a good point as well.
But not in the middle of a season.
Right.
In an off season. So that's what I'm saying is that like right now you're going to be able to get him at a discounted price considering you're in the middle of the year. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just a fact.
And 7 games left. I mean,
and that's the thing too, is like, why would you sign him to a major deal and then not unknowing what's going to happen? Like, coming into the middle of a situation, you're going to sign him at a low risk deal. You're going to bring him in. If it works, you're going to work something out. If it doesn't work, you cut your loss, and it's not that bad. You don't lose any draft picks. You don't lose a lot of money, and you gave it a shot. So I 100% think the New York Giants should make an aggressive move to sign free agent wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr.
I love it, man. I think it'd be a great move. As long as it makes sense financially, man, I would love for them to go out there and make that move. And that reunion would just be amazing. That would be, could you imagine I'll tell you what, look, if Odell Beckham gets signed, we're going to New York for that first game. I don't care what game it is. I think we have to
go no matter what.
Even if it's a road game, bro, we're going. I got to go see that 13 out there one time, man. You know, and I think Odell Beckham has a lot of unfinished business in New York, man. So I'm glad we got to talk about that, man. The chat presented a lot of good facts on that one too, man. I see a lot of people talking. They would definitely welcome Odell Beckham as well, man. But I'd be ecstatic, man. And y'all know I got the signed jersey back there from my homie Nick DeWick, man. Shout out to the GOAT, Nick DeWick, one time for blessing me with that Odell Beckham jersey, man. It would just revive all of that. And it'd be great to see Daniel Jones with a real weapon. I don't think it would be like, the expectations will be crazy for Odell coming in the first couple weeks. But as long as he can contribute and be a guy that can stretch the field and, be able to score some touchdowns for this offense, man. Like I said, just 3 passing touchdowns in the first half all season long. That's not going to get it done.
Yeah. Nah, we'll see.
All right, man. Well, let's take a little quick commercial break one time, man. And then, we saved the best for last, man. That was a major, major upset victory. But let's take a quick little commercial break, man, and we'll come back and talk about those Commanders defeating the Eagles.
Your wide receiver on IR? Aw, shucks. Your running back keep fumbling every week? Man, damn it all. Well, come chop it up with your boys. We are waiver wire tight. Awthentik and The Beard. Every Sunday morning, streaming live at 11 a.m.
Yeah. Shout out to the Beard, man. Y'all know what it is, man. The parlay every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. The Commanders are back, sitting at 500 right now, 5-5. They defeated the undefeated Eagles, who are now 8-1. They beat the Eagles 32-21 in convincing fashion. I know that little extra touchdown y'all got at the end. That was a little bit of I know you was happy about that.
I won money on DraftKings because of that. I had the Commanders defense, and that extra 7 points put me up another bracket in the payout.
I'm sure a lot of people was angry about that. I'm sure a lot of people was happy about that and definitely made some money. The Beard asked for the Washington Commanders to run the damn ball, and he got RTDB. They ran the damn ball. The Commanders ran the ball 49 times, man. I would have never thought y'all would have had more rushing attempts than the Giants after that 47 rushing attempts for us on Sunday. Commanders running 49 times. Eagles only rushed the ball 4 times in the first half. That's not like them. Washington ran 81 plays, and the Eagles only had 47 plays. You talk about keeping the other quarterback on the sidelines, looking at the game. That's exactly what they did with Jalen Hurts. The Commanders won the time of possession battle 40 minutes and 24 seconds to 19 and 34 seconds. The Eagles committed 7 penalties for 75 yards. Washington forced 4 turnovers in this game, man. They definitely doing their thing in this one, man. I'm going to let you get the business right here. I'm going to let you cook, okay? Like they used to say about Russ over there in Seattle. I'm going to let you cook. I'm going to let the Beard cook one time, man. What do you think gave the Washington Commanders the edge versus the previously undefeated Philadelphia Eagles?
This is my favorite beat this season. My favorite beat this season. Every time this joke comes on, it's just like... just get that nasty steak jerk.
Let's go.
Look, I am so ecstatic about the game plan. And there was some times where they kind of like, I'm like, they got they got dicey. Like, it was a craps table.
Your play-by-play tweets during the first half were hilarious, man. Run the damn ball.
Listen, it was crazy. And they did run the ball, and they ran the ball successfully, and they ran the ball a lot. And what it did is it really allowed us, like 49 carries, 152 yards. They used both running backs, okay? And it allowed us to have easier third downs to convert. And this number would have been a lot lower if it wasn't for a couple of those third downs on the last couple of drives, right? Obviously, the one where, he goes to take the knee and stuff like that. Whatnot.
Yeah.
But the average third and to go in this game for the Washington Commanders was 4.1 yards.
Ooh, that's
so
low.
it's like I'll live at 3rd and 4 all game long. I have no problems.
I'm trying to figure out how the hell y'all had 21 third downs. It's ridiculous.
12 of 21 on third down. That meant you was running the damn ball on first down. You was running the damn ball on second down. Okay, so it was just, and there was so much. I shout out to Ref the District because they didn't necessarily talk about this, but they brought up some stats about, and it mentioned this, and it reminded me. Have you seen that much pre-snap motion from the Washington Commanders at any point in time this entire season? It was all game long.
Yeah,
Curtis Samuel or Logan Thomas were coming across the backfield all game long.
Yeah.
It gives that extra brief seconds against the linebackers.
It cost y'all that penalty that one time, too, when Taylor Heineke was trying to rush the play, forgot he had to have a man in motion, and ended up taking that delayed game.
Yeah. One of the Taylor Heineke blips in this game. We'll get to those, But it was just, that was the biggest thing for me to take away from this game was we've been asking for it. And, I see Paulie. Shout out Paulie with a $2 super chat, right? Commanders recap Joe Gibbs football. I heard Paulie on the radio on Friday. I heard it was it was Monday afternoon. I heard Paulie on the radio. He said, man, they just got to keep running the ball. Run the ball. You got to run the ball. You got to run the ball. And I mean, people I know, it's like, it sounds like a joke, and we have a good time here. But I've been talking about this style of offense for a long time. And I don't just say it because I'm an old man. And early on, a lot of people, when they hear you talk about running the ball, they think of you as an old man.
Yeah.
Like
times are changing. OG.
Yeah, but it just allows so much. And I want to give a big shout out to Awthentik because when we talked about this on Thursday, he brought up the point about, like, if you're able to run the ball and you continuously run the ball and you're effective, what it does is it limits the chances of Taylor Heineke not only making a mistake, but allows him the opportunity to make plays, which is what he did in this game. The crossing routes, the slants. I mean, how long have we been begging for Terry McLaurin on the slant? And a lot of times, Heineke has missed that throw behind him or sailed that throw. But because he wasn't having to make those sort of throws all game long.
Heineke, he sails the ball when he's dead center in the pocket. That's the worst time for him. When you get him off the pocket and you kind of like, he can maneuver it a little bit and step right or step left, he's usually more accurate. And for the most part, he's a pretty accurate quarterback in that range of 5 to 20. 5 to 20.
He missed on a couple of his other problem is sometimes he rushes the flats and he rushes the screen throws and he misses those a lot. There was one play where Antonio Gibson had to make a crazy catch and ended up losing yards, and they should have never been throwing that ball in the first place. And we'll talk about that in a second. But, Philadelphia Eagles, 4 turnovers, 7 penalties. You talked about the time of possession. I mean, holding the Philadelphia Eagles to under 100 yards rushing is absolutely phenomenal. The Philadelphia Eagles only had 264 total yards the entire game. And, we talked about this, about how in order for Washington to win this game, they needed people to play their best games. They needed everything to kind of go their way. And obviously we'll touch base on a few of these items briefly, But there were players Brian Robinson, shout out Benny, I see you in the chat. Brian Robinson had his best game.
He did.
You know,
he was running tough, man.
He was running tough. I mean, that play, not even just the touchdown was a thing of beauty because there was 4 or 5 Eagles players trying to drag him, and he just forearm strength across the goal line. But the play before that, to get down to the goal line, he was just carrying people. You know, he ran super rough. The combination of him and Gibson, they just don't use Gibson, and there's a weird pace that they use the two of them at. Like, they'll use Gibson for one play, then they'll take him out. You know, I'm not saying that you have to go a whole series of one or a whole series of other, but you kind of got to mix it up a little bit.
And they always start the game with Brian Robinson. I noticed that. You know, he always gets the bulk of the carries in the first half, and then they try to ramp it up with Gibson. But Gibson did have 14 carries in this game. You know, that's up there in his, you know, higher number of attempts throughout the year. I think his highest was 16 this year, I believe.
Yeah, and you know, that's what I've been asking for. It's 15 to 20 touches. I'd like to see that 14 carries, you know, 5 catches sort of situation. But there was a lot of other people that had their best games too. You know, Terry McLaurin had a game. He was
everywhere.
Giving it to Slay. I don't know if you saw that one, the one pass where he caught it on you know, one of the toughest catches, the over the shoulder one.
Oh my God! But that
the
ball,
move he gave, that ball,
Heineke,
best throw he's thrown.
Now, remember, I was praising Carson Wentz early in the year for that exact same throw on that right side.
Yeah.
Taylor Heineke put that one right in the basket, man. That was
one of his best throws ever. And the move that McLaurin gave Slay off the line is the whole that created that play because it made Slay kind of stumble because he caught him with that move right off the line. And that opened the door to give him that separation. And shout out to Darius Slay because if you watch that play, Darius Slay was probably about 2 yards behind him before that ball gets to Terry, and he closed really fast. Darius Slay is really good. Yeah, he's really good. You saw
that play where Slay tried to bait Taylor Heineke. He played it like he was playing a cover 3, and then as soon as he saw the flat, man, he just dropped right. Took a major risk and just dropped down to the flats. Almost had an interception. Almost baited what's my man Taylor Heineke into another interception. I think that's why I thought Taylor threw 2.
Yeah,
I think it was that.
It was because I remember you were tweeting about. We were tweeting to each other about that. You were like, "Man, that was a pro move by Slay on the bait."
Hey, shout out to Rob Zero in the chat one time too, man. He does a lot of spaces on Twitter for the New York Giants community, man. He's been definitely committed and dedicated his time. He's asking about the Odell Beckham Jr. news and whatnot, man. If you want to, you can rewind just a little bit here. We just talked about that in the last segment for like a good 30 minutes, man, and we both feel really good about it. We think the New York Giants should make a move on Odell Beckham, but go ahead and continue with this.
Absolutely, and big shout out to Paulie for the $5 super chat. Says B-Rob equals Luke Cage.
I like that, man. Shout out Paulie one time.
I do like that, but yeah, you know, Terry McLaurin, I'm pretty sure that was his best game of the year. I mean, He had tons of catches, tons of yards, tons of big plays.
Yeah, 128.
Big plays down the side, you know,
11
big
targets
plays in the
too.
middle.
I like that he got 11 targets. The next highest targets closest to that was 4 with Curtis Samuel. You got to get the ball to your best wide receiver. And I know a lot of people I don't want to shift this to the Giants, but people been ragging on Kenny Golladay heavy because he hasn't been playing well. I mean, let's just call it what it is, right? But at the end of the day, to get into a rhythm, you need the targets, man, and that's what you got to do. You easily can see Terry McLaurin get into a rhythm when he's getting the targets. We've also seen games where Terry McLaurin come out 4 catches, 40 yards, 50 yards because they're not getting him in the rhythm. Same thing goes for Curtis Samuel when he's been the focal point of y'all passing attack. It's about getting him the targets, man. You got to maximize the opportunities for these guys, especially on teams that are relying on the running game, man. When you get the chance to throw the ball to your number one playmakers, you got to go out there and go ahead and do that. And the Philadelphia Eagles normally do that with A.J. Brown, but it seems like A.J. Brown was kind of hobbled in this game a little bit, man, and he didn't quite put up the normal stat line that we're used to seeing from A.J. Brown. He only had 4 targets in this game.
Yeah, he came back pretty quick after he walked off, but I still don't believe he was 100%. But, you know, I'm going to get to the defensive, you know, players here for Washington who made big plays. But I did want to give love to Brian Robinson, Terry McLaurin, Joey Sly. Everybody needed to play their best game. What did he do? He stepped up and hit a career-long 58-yard field goal. You know, so he was 4 for 4 on field goals, I think. I'm pretty sure he was 4 for 4 on field goals. You know, his best game, he had come up with some misses as of lately, too. So big shout-outs to Joey Sly.
Yeah, 4 for 4.
4 for 4, and including a career-long 58-yarder. Like, we had to have these guys. Everybody kind of had to do their best.
It's 14 points, man. That's good money, man. He got the 2 extra points for you. You know, the 4 field goals. That's good. That's good money from your kicker right there, man. And y'all, I think y'all made a move on him when y'all got rid of Hopkins, right? I believe it was.
Yeah.
Is it Dust? Wow. When I say
Well,
Dustin Hopkins, I think that's an actor.
Yeah, no, I know who but no, you're
Dustin
right. We got rid of him, and then remember we brought in Blewett, and then he blew it, and then we got Joey Sly.
He was horrible for a while there, yeah. So y'all ironed that out, though. That's good.
Yeah, we did. And then the defense. So we didn't – I was asking – we're going to talk about the roadmap in a second. You know, we only had 1 sack, but it was an absolutely monster sack. Montez Sweat sack at the end of the game basically was – I mean, it was one of the most important defensive plays in that entire game.
Sweat and sack, man. Them 2 things don't go together.
And then obviously, Jerron Payne and Jonathan Allen were all in Jalen Hurts' face for most of that game. You know, those 2 guys are just absolutely amazing. And then obviously the secondary, you know, St. Juice and Kendall Fuller. Kendall Fuller made an amazing play where he came across and knocked that ball out. I mean, there was some times there where they got beat, but they came back and they took care of business. Yep. But I mean, my guy, Forrest, every time you hear his name, it's around a big play. I feel like I said that 3 or 4 times now this year. Yep. That interception was absolutely huge. The St. Juice interception, I mean, and then when the Quez Watkins play happens, you know, St. Juice gets beat on that, but he never gave up, and he kept attacking. And as soon as Quez got up, he hit him. He fumbled. Forrest picks up the fumble. I mean, it was just
they were talking about that play on Undefeated, and Shannon Sharp was talking about this. You know, he said Quez Watkins was unsure of his hands. That's why he fell to the ground when he was catching the ball to try to kind of secure it in his body, because he didn't have to fall to the ground, and then tried to make a heads-up play by getting up, but, you know, didn't secure the ball. The ball's kind of just hanging around on his right arm like a loaf of bread, and then there goes the strip. To me, that was the biggest momentum shift in the entire game.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there was so many times in this game where I thought listen, Taylor Heineke, I'm gonna give out a couple of, you know, things I gotta be picky about, and then we're gonna go to the roadmap. Taylor Heineke is going to do what he's going to do. Okay, he's gonna turn the ball over. There's just no. Yep. I mean, we're at the point where I think he has 19 turnovers in 20 games. Okay, so
interception in each of his games that he started in this year. I think it's 4 starts for Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, and that one that he threw in that game, that was just a god-awful decision. That was one of those, hey, 500,
He's a little guy, man. You know, his perspective on the field is not what we're seeing, so he's just sometimes.
But I'm not going to lie, that one had me like, oh, that's it. Here we go. Because, you know, the turnaround in that situation was just, and it was just, fourth quarter, 3 straight games with a fourth quarter interception. The timing in which these are happening are what's really killing us. And then obviously there was a couple of plays where he missed some throws, you know, but all that being said, and it's crazy that I'm going to say this because I'm looking at this stat line on the screen right now. It was still might have been one of his best games. You know, like,
it was a good one. Yeah, overall. Yeah, he made plays consistently throughout the game with the intermediate throws. I do feel you. Like, the stat line doesn't look like it's one of his best games. You know, a lot of people might look to the Colts game because of the fourth quarter comeback, you know, and whatnot. But throughout that game, he was relatively quiet throughout the whole entire game until that last fourth quarter drive.
And to me, like, that's the thing is that, like, you know, when I get into these debates with people about Taylor Heineke, they're all want to talk about, like, the flash in the pan moments and the, you know, the pylon sort of moments or the we're winning sort of moments. And I'm just like, for me, that stuff is awesome, right? But that you're not going to make a living off of that. You're going to make we're going to talk about that. You're going to make a living.
I think it's appropriate to talk about that right now.
That's what I'm about to go into.
That was a really heads-up play. It reminded me of Lamar Jackson, you know, because that happened to Lamar against the Giants. The ball got snapped, but then the thing is when Lamar picked it up, he made a major mistake. He rolled to his right. He tried to force the ball to the backup tight end in double coverage. And honestly, that was one of the plays why the New York Giants came back to win that game. Now, with this one, you're looking at Taylor Heineke. The ball goes slam over his head. You could see as he was picking up the ball, he was like, man, find a way to get out the pocket and throw this ball away immediately. And that's what he did, man. It was a great heads-up play to keep that drive going. And when you look at the interception in the fourth quarter, it's like, I want to say y'all were either up by 3 or like down by 3. It was a pretty
we were
close
up.
game.
We were
Y'all
up.
were up, but it was still like a 1-score game at that point.
Yeah.
Why are you looking to make this big play down the field and throw an interception like that is beyond me. And sometimes I feel like with Taylor Heineke, it takes for him to make that first mistake to then just kind of like, all right, man, settle in. Let's get rid of all the bullshit, bro, and get back to work and get back to business.
Yeah, but that play is, to me, that's why I was going, was like, yeah, those other plays are like, they're big plays, they're flashy plays or whatnot, right? Like the spin move. But the play like that where he, that's a game altering play.
Yeah.
If you don't get that, if you don't recover that, B, you get an intentional grounding, that's a loss of down and a 15-yard penty, But like that's the sort of play to me.
He must have been
30
25 yards behind the line of scrimmage, man. That dude was running for his life, man. As soon as you saw the snap go, it's like he didn't even think about like trying to catch it. His hands never even went up. The ball got snapped. It was he was like, oh shit.
Looked like he was running for a pass from a ball jug.
No bull, yo. No bull.
Like.
That dude was like, it's almost like a punt returner when the punt go over your head and you just know, hey, it's time to get back. That man just ran back. But yeah, definitely a game-saving play, man. A good heads-up play by Taylor Heineke there.
And he hit the crossers, he hit the slants, he hit the big play to Terry. To me, like, it was all the little things that I need him to do in order, because I want this. This is the game plan I want.
Yeah.
29 passes is still a little much, but I mean, when you're running 91 plays, I'm not necessarily mad at 29 passes. It's more of a ratio sort of situation.
Yeah.
But and then obviously to take the knee at the end of the game instead of trying to force it or throw away, and then you end up getting that penalty. So those are the sort of plays. And then obviously the officiating in this game was horrible. Let's just be perfectly honest. Like I'm not gonna be one of those guys who, like tries to say, oh, Eagles fans. Like, listen, if I was an Eagles fan, I'd be upset too.
Facts.
You missed that face mask call on that fumble. That's a completely game-changing event.
That was another momentum shift as well. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And you could tell the Eagles knew that being behind y'all on the scoreboard, they were trying to score fast. That's why they abandoned the run so much. That was their thing. They just wanted to get back, get that lead, and try to take command of the game. And those 2 turnovers right there were the biggest momentum shifts, man. Those fumbles, the one from Quez Watkins, the one from Goddard, and especially with that face mask was not just some light face mask. Homie was like exorcisting his whole face mask around, turning it 180 degrees. So for me, I mean, it's like, yeah, they missed the call. They did give him the makeup call though, on the pass interference with St. Juice on the pick route or whatever it was. It wasn't
Jahan Dotson.
Jahan Dotson, yeah.
Which was an awful call in itself. And this is another one too. Big shout out to Paulie for the $5 super chat. 3rd and 3, they should have never been running that 100% on the interception. And that's the thing that I was talking about earlier in the show about how, like, where some of these people, these coaches, they get off of it. And one other turning point was in the second half when we had that long drive and we get into the red zone and they pass the ball 2 times on second and goal. And we end up having to settle for 3 in that situation. When we had been running the ball so effectively, they just decided to start passing the ball in the end zone. In my back of my mind,
Paulie the vibes, man.
Yeah, big shout out to Paulie. And I was in my back of my mind, I'm like, that's going to come back and haunt us. Not getting
now,
7
with
and
the
getting
one that
3
he's
there.
talking about here for the 3rd and 3, right? That was was it just a fade route? Is that what it was on the interception?
I think it was. I don't know if it wasn't a fade route. Maybe a post route. It wasn't a fade.
I'm gonna go back and check that, because what I wanted to bring up was, like, you see this a lot on 3rd and short like this, where defenses will sell out, right? And the only thing that they're giving the offense is the one-on-one matchup. Last year at least, they were eating this up. The Bengals, bro. Like, half of the time Jamar Chase was getting those fade routes for touchdowns, they happened on 3rd and short,
Joe
2nd
Burrow
and
would
short.
just hang in there and get rocked. And just,
he would just stay there, just lob that up. You get the one-on-one matchup because these defenses aren't thinking you're going to try to take a deep shot on 3rd and 3. And sometimes quarterbacks are just forced to try to make that throw. But the problem with it for me was the score. That's you got to be able to protect the ball when you got the lead or when you're in a close game. These big mistakes like this, and that's where I feel like with the Philadelphia Eagles, man, like, none of this was on Jalen Hurts. No. Jalen Hurts played a fantastic game.
He threw some dimes.
He was throwing dimes. He was putting his receivers in position to make plays. These jokers was just fumbling the ball every time they caught the ball in the key moments in the game, and it really cost the Philadelphia Eagles the game. I was kind of in limbo with who I should be rooting for, and then towards that end of that fourth quarter, I'm just like, Washington about to really win this game. I really can't believe it. Halftime, I'm like, they played ugly, and they got a decent lead. I think y'all were leading 20-14 at the half or 20-13 or something like that. And I was like, when you look at the first half for the Washington Commanders, it didn't look great. It looked very average, but somehow y'all was winning. And even to drag that into the fourth quarter and to finish out this game, and then the last play where Philadelphia tries the whole Tennessee Titans throwback kind of vibes, and to give y'all another touchdown. This game was a lot closer than that. I mean, this really was a one-score game when you look at it. But they gave y'all that extra touchdown there at the end. But Philly was in it right to the end, man. They were right there. They were in it. Y'all even gave them another opportunity. The turnovers, for me, is really what killed the Eagles, man.
4 turnovers.
4 turnovers, you're not going to win the game. That reminded me of the game the Philadelphia Eagles played against the Giants last year, the first meeting, where Nick Sirianni came out. His whole intent was, the Giants ain't jack. We're going to throw the ball all over them. Abandon the running game mad early. Jalen Hurts ended up throwing 3 interceptions in that game. And it was still a close game, but the Giants ended up handling business. The same thing goes for the Commanders here, man. Y'all relied on that running game heavy to take y'all to victory.
I want to say they only had 3 turnovers. It was either 3 turnovers or 3 interceptions the entire year up until this game. And then in this game, they had 4 turnovers, including 2 interceptions. So it was definitely crazy. But
was it 2 interceptions?
Yeah, I think it was 2 interceptions, right? Yeah, 2 interceptions and 2 fumbles, right?
I got 1 interception.
1 interception.
On the
1
box,
interception
right?
And 3 fumbles.
Yeah, Quez, Goddard. Oh, and wait, what was the other fumble? Can't remember the other. They definitely had 3 fumbles and a
the last play of the game.
The last play of the game. That's the one that counts. So really, it was 3 turnovers. I mean, that fourth one we could count it though for sure.
But let's go ahead and take a quick look and see how the Washington Commanders did according to the roadmap.
Let's do it.
If you guys follow us on Twitter, I was posting clips of that roadmap just to make sure everybody knew, because the roadmap obviously, was to have 0 turnovers. That definitely didn't happen. We had 2 turnovers, but we talked about the turnover differential. Philly was number 1 in the league at +15. Washington was 5th worst in the league at -4, but we were +2 in the turnover differential in this game. So that's a win, right? If you're going to turn the ball over, at least win the turnover differential. RTDB, of course, I said I need 40 carries. How many times we run the ball? 49. I love it.
Crazy.
49 carries. Okay. I wanted to get Gibson involved early. That didn't necessarily happen, but at least I didn't wait until the second quarter. So to me, that's improvement. That's a win. Okay. Sacks. I wanted 5. We got 1, but that 1 sack was so big. Pause. It was so important. Shout out to Montez Sweat, man.
What's that?
Shout out Montez Sweat. But the biggest thing about the roadmap, which was by far the most important thing, which is kind of crazy because it was night and day difference. The last thing I talked about on Thursday was sustaining drives.
Yeah.
I talked about we got to have a better scoring percentage. We had the worst scoring percentage in the National Football League. 25.9% of our drives ended with scores. And we just, so many 3 and outs, these negative plays. What did we do in this game? We had drives of 13 plays, 12 plays, 16 plays, 8 plays, and that was because it was a halftime, 14 plays, and then a 4-play drive at the end. So we were 6 of 10.
Look at all the clock on that. Look at the clock that y'all drained on some of those drives, man. The
All those
14-play drive,
plays?
8 minutes, 23 seconds on the 14-play drive. The 8-play drive, the 16-play drive before the half was 7 minutes. The 12-play drive before that was 6 minutes, 30 seconds. The 13-play drive before that one was 7 minutes, 21 seconds. Man, you're taking half of a quarter every possession on those. Like that,
it was
that's
so.
how you do it.
It was
and
so
many
important.
times you saw Jalen Hurts on that sideline with that helmet off. You know how he always sits in that like wide stance kind of with his elbows on his knees. Like, when the hell am I gonna get back on this field, man? Damn, and these jokers keep fumbling the ball.
Yeah. So 6 of 10 on scoring drives. So a team that averaged, 25.9%, turned around and had a 60% scoring percentage in this game. We scored on 6 of our 10 drives. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, literally everything that we needed to happen happened. And, plus a lot of extra things. Obviously the penalties. It wasn't just that it was the late hit on the sideline or helmet to helmet hit, which was a bad penalty.
Yep.
So there was a lot in there, and it just, I had the feeling, the gut, it was in the gut, and we managed to pull it away. That was a huge win. And I think, the one thing that nobody's really talking about, I think you got to give a lot of credit to Ron Rivera. I mean, time and time again, we talk about how this team isn't ready. We went into the undefeated team, one of the best teams in the National Football League, cupcake schedule or not. The Philadelphia Eagles are one of the most talented teams in the National Football League, hands down. And we went in there on the road on prime time.
Yeah, Monday night, man.
Do you remember when it was like prime time game? Chalk it up as an L for Washington.
Yeah.
We're 2-0 in prime time this year on Thursday night and Monday night.
No more Kirk Cousins, man. No more Kirk Cousins. You know what I'm saying?
So,
definitely holding it down on prime time.
It was definitely a very roller coaster of a ride. I mean, that was up and down, up and down, up and down. And I thought we were going to lose it 4 or 5 times. And I thought we were going to run away with it 4 or 5 times. So it was crazy. Crazy.
It definitely was crazy, man. Big shout out to y'all on that W, man. That was a fun game to watch, man. And if that was my team taking care of business like that, I'd be thrilled, man. You needed that for your season, man. And then it shows you that you can beat teams within the division, so moving forward, taking on teams like Dallas, taking on teams like New York. I've been telling people that there's some narrative going around in New York that they think that the Washington Commanders are some joke. Man, the Commanders have a solid defense. Should have beat the Vikings too. Yeah.
Tennessee Titans.
Yep.
Those are really good teams.
Yeah, those are really good teams, man. So people need to be on notice. The Commanders are definitely out here, making their push, man. They're making their push. They're still sitting at the bottom of the division. The NFC East, one of the better divisions in football right now. But y'all are making y'all way, and I kind of hope y'all keep taking care of business outside of the games against us. And y'all can see y'all way in the playoffs, man, because I just think that would just be great for this channel. I would have a blast in the playoffs with Washington and New York in the playoffs. And we know Philly's probably going to be there already. Yeah. Maybe the Cowboys. It'd be interesting.
What if Washington and the Giants played in a playoff game?
It'd have to be second round at this rate. But with this Eagles loss now, the Giants are just a game back.
One game back, my friend.
One game back, dog. And that's crazy. But we gotta talk about this. We gotta address this part. I know you got everything off your chest, right? This was Mike Florio on Unbuttoned with Chris Sims earlier today.
Now there's actually a question as to whether or not Taylor Heineke continues to be the starting quarterback. You just beat the Eagles. I don't care how healthy Carson Wentz is. Heineke's the guy, and I know they made the investment. You got to justify the investment. Baloney, you're trying to win football games. Heineke is the guy. Yeah. How's it even an issue for debate, Chris?
Oh, you had to put this beat back.
I had to. I'm going to let you go first on this one, man. Who is QB1 in Washington when Carson Wentz gets healthy here in maybe a couple of weeks?
It's this week, I think. Yeah, it's this week. Carson Wentz and Chase Young are both going to be called off of IR this week. Carson Wentz is QB1 in Washington when he's healthy.
Chad, how y'all feeling about this? Who's QB1 in Washington right now? It is tough because Taylor Heineke, there are portions of his game that are just extremely sloppy. And when you look at him with the eyes and you see if he passes the eye test, it don't look like it. It really don't. Weaker arm. I did say y'all got to start putting some more respect on Taylor Heineke's arm on Twitter. Y'all do got to do that. Yeah, and then he threw an interception literally 2 plays later. It's pretty bad. You're not making a good case for me here, Taylor. But if I had to answer this, man, I think you got to go with Taylor Heineke, man. I really do. There's
tough,
something about the way the team is just rallying behind him. And, man, I watched you guys in the locker room, after the win, man, and it was extremely emotional, man, because, Ron Rivera was talking about losing his mother, choked up, couldn't even speak, man, and Terry McLaurin just stepped up like a true damn leader. This is why I love Terry McLaurin. He stepped in, put his hand on Coach's back, kind of moved him to the side like, man, I got this, dog. went on to say a speech about how important this was to Ron and to his family and to all the players in the locker room, rallied them up. He was cursing a whole lot, and I like that kind of energy, man. You know, when you get hype off that win, you liable to say anything. And Terry McLaurin, you know, led them to a victory, and he said family on 3. Man, I love seeing that in the locker room, man, because them guys are out there fighting for each other, fighting for the team, fighting for the city, fighting for the fans, man, you know, and I've seen a lot of that with the New York Giants, man, in our locker room, man. People stepping up. The NFL is all about that. Like, when you don't got everything going your way, you need those kind of guys that are going to step up in big spots, even if they're small names. You got guys like Chase Young been on the sideline. You bring in a guy like Carson Wentz, man. He's supposed to be QB1 over there. He gets hurt. The whole reason for bringing in a guy like Carson Wentz was for durability. He's a bigger quarterback. You know, Taylor Heineke taking big shots in the pocket sometimes, man. We saw him get smacked in that game, which I think that kind of had him a little nervous in the beginning. But you need players like that to step up, man. You really do. So for me, man, I just think that this team, the family-oriented approach is huge when you got Taylor Heineke on that field, and I think it's because of the relationships. This guy built relationships a whole year and a half over there with Washington, man, and it seems like Terry McLaurin really likes him, some Taylor Heineke. Even if he's not throwing the best passes, we know that Carson Wentz had trouble with the Indianapolis Colts. A lot of it had to do with him being not a locker room guy. And I mean, you know, we only going off hearsay and only going off, you know, what we can hear from the media. And we don't even know if some of that stuff's true. But in 2 locker rooms, it seemed like Carson Wentz was a problem. And maybe this is just a people person kind of thing. Maybe Taylor Heineke is just a better option out there because he's the better person to lead this team. And I also think that it does a lot for Scott Turner calling the plays as an offensive coordinator. He's pinned. You know the limitations of Taylor Heineke.
And
when
you
it
know
comes
the limitations
to
of Carson Wentz.
I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think that Carson Wentz gives you this smoke a little bit. That's like, man, we could drop back and throw the ball the way we want to. Like, think about when Carson Wentz was in the lineup in his last game, how many times he dropped back and you just see the offensive line just collapse around him and he just holds on to the ball a little bit too long and takes too many sacks. With Taylor Heineke, you know that game plan, throw that out the window. We are not dropping back 25, 35 times with Taylor Heineke and expecting to win the game on his arm. You know, and this is what you were telling me, what you were giving me my kudos for, was that when Taylor Heineke's in the lineup, bro, you know the task at hand, and that just makes football that much easier, man. If we go into a game and I know my quarterback can't stretch the field and throw the ball down the field too crazy, but he going to give you those gunslinger vibes, those, I don't even want to say Brett Favre's name on this podcast, but we'll say it. He give you those Brett Favre vibes, right? He can extend plays. He does things that I think that X's and O's you just can't account for. He goes above and beyond those sometimes. And the way that team just rallying behind him, you know, it's kind of funny to see him extremely hype at the end of the game because it's like he causes a roughing penalty or, you know, a personal foul penalty. And he's lit like he just threw a touchdown, bro. Like he got up like, ah! I'm like, I know the game was on the line, you get the W, but it's literally like, yo, Taylor Heineke is the underdog. Yeah. He's under the underdog. And I think the city rallies behind that, and I think the team rallies behind that too.
And big shout out to Paulie for the $2 super chat. Says 28 mil can't buy you chemistry or respect.
Yeah, that's real. That's
and
definitely
the thing.
There were some outs for Washington in that contract. You know, they can cut Carson Wentz next year, zero dead cap hit.
Yeah. So for me, I think this is when I say it's tough. If you imagine, you know how I am. If you'd asked me this question 4 weeks ago, it wouldn't have been tough at all.
Oh, it's super easy.
You know, and I think Taylor Heineke's done a fantastic job. And I think everything that everybody said in the chat makes complete sense. Everything you said makes complete sense, which is why it makes it tough. But at the same time, it's like in my gut, I'm like, eventually that magic is going to run out. That luck is not going to be there. You know what I'm saying? Like there's not going to be an opportunity to recover from a fourth quarter interception. And it's like, it's so easy for some fans to like key in on Carson Wentz. Like after the Titans game, oh, that's Carson Wentz throwing a fourth quarter interception. We lose the game. Taylor Heineke's thrown a fourth quarter interception in the last 3 games in a row. Taylor Heineke has turned the ball over at least once every single time he's played in a football game. You know, and it's just like,
is it really every game? Damn.
Every game. Well, it's on average. On average. I don't know.
At least. Okay,
on average. So, whether it be an interception or turnover.
Right.
It's just, so for me, I got to think like that. And when I say I go with Wentz, I obviously, and I answered this to somebody on Twitter last night. I said, I go with Wentz. Wentz with a leash. Okay, so
Yeah,
a
you
very
did say
short
that.
leash.
You did say that.
Because to me, that's what it is, what it comes down to. Because I think you know what you have in Taylor Heineke, right? Now, the offensive line is way more improved than what it was 4 weeks ago when Carson Wentz was playing. Some of that is
how much of that you think is on the quarterback? Is what I was gonna ask you.
Some of that is obviously on you don't maybe not notice some of the pressure because of Taylor Heineke playing quarterback and not Carson Wentz, because of one of the things that Heineke can do that Wentz can't do, and that's avoid the pressure. But overall, I think the offensive line has performed much better. Obviously we've not rotated 7 different times. We're not on a third string tackle and center and all that. We got some guys back. So I think that's a big difference. But I just think that you go with Carson Wentz and you see what happens. The next game is against the Houston Texans. Carson Wentz is healthy. You start Carson Wentz.
That's a big trap game too.
Of course.
Speaking from experience, man.
I know. So
you're a Texans fan. I know.
So that's gonna be interesting. My two teams going against.
That's going up against each other.
But it'll be interesting to see, and I just think that you go with Carson Wentz because I think Carson Wentz is the better quarterback. Even though Taylor Heineke might be the better quarterback for this particular team, I think you have to see what Carson Wentz can do with this team performing the way that it is right now. If he can't do it, and it's evident, like say Carson Wentz gets sacked 4 times and he has 30 yards passing in the first 2 quarters against the Texans, then you pull him and you ride Heineke the rest of the season. That's all there's to it.
I like this from Kevin the PRF right here, man. The only reason it's a debate is because we won 3 close games. If Taylor Heineke played exactly the same way and we lost those games outside of his performance, this magical, mystical moxie wouldn't be an issue. It's a really 100%. Good point. And I want to give you the benefit of the doubt here too. And with Carson Wentz in the lineup, you think that Scott Turner will adjust the game plan now that he has some experience under his belt with both quarterbacks, knowing that now you can rely on this running attack from Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, and kind of give Carson Wentz the alley-oop by giving him the game plan that Taylor Heineke has been presented
I would
with?
hope so.
That's the part that scares me.
When Carson Wentz was, he had some bad games in Indianapolis, but still he played fairly good football. You had Jonathan Taylor, had one of the best seasons in a long time for a running back. Jonathan Taylor had last year.
Yeah.
And so Carson Wentz can do that here. You don't have to have Carson Wentz to throw the ball because he can. You just want to have Carson Wentz to be able to throw the ball when you have to.
Yeah, and
you stick to the game
I will
plan.
say this, man. There's not many. Don't slay me for this, man. There's not many throws that Carson Wentz can make that Taylor Heineke can't. And this is the other thing I think Taylor Heineke is much better at. When you play wide receiver, catching an easy ball, when a quarterback give you for instance, that one to Kenny Galladay, right? I know on when you look at it from home and you look at it on TV, you go, oh my God, routine drop, man. What the hell are you doing, right? Taylor Heineke don't throw passes like that. And I'm not saying that was Daniel Jones' fault at all, but look at the trajectory on that pass. Danny be darting. When he throw it to you 5, 6 yards, 8 yards, both the ones that we could consider drops to Kenny Galladay, they're coming in hot. Them joints is coming in, right? You got to get your hands up, get to it. NFL wide receivers got to make that catch every damn time. Don't get me wrong. But Taylor Heineke has a way, the touch.
Making it a catchable ball, yeah.
But
sometimes that touch is bad.
Underneath it. Sometimes it's bad. You're right. Sometimes it's bad. But we have not seen Taylor Heineke throw an interception in the flats all year. In 4 games.
Yeah, but we've seen him throw incomplete passes and almost get his players killed in the flats.
You talking about the play where Darius Slay made a hell of a play. The quarterback, that's more of a better play by the corner than it is a bad play from your
but I mean, in general, so this season, though, there's been a couple of occasions.
Granted, this is your team, right? I have watched every game. especially these ones with Taylor Heineke, I don't see him, setting up players on the outside. Normally, it's those crossing routes across the middle with the high throws. He's going to set you up trying to make you jump, right? But Taylor Heineke has this knack of putting touch on the pass to allow the wide receiver to catch it in stride. The touch where he's not relying on the velocity of his throw to make it there in time. He's relying on throwing to a spot. And I think he does that better than Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, the trajectory of his short throws is very, down. It starts high, and it goes down. You catching them a little bit lower. Whereas Taylor Heineke's got that little lollipop loft, man. Just lands right there for you. And granted, I think that the one throw, this is why I said there's not many throws that Carson Wentz can make that Taylor Heineke can't make. The 12-yard out route. Carson Wentz is going to throw that better. The 12-yard dig route. Carson Wentz is going to throw that better. A deeper fade route, a deeper post route, he's probably going to throw those better. But I just think that there's something about Taylor Heineke that is just throw away the X's and O's and just think backyard football. That dude would be the guy that I'd be like, I'm picking him at quarterback because he's going to win us the game. I don't know. It might be ugly. It might be Eli-ish a little bit where you get 5 opportunities at the end of a game to get a 1 fourth-quarter comeback. It might be like that. There's just something there that I think that there's no data can compensate for it why Taylor Heineke is the better option. There's no data that really could back it up.
And you know what? I'm not going to be in a situation that's like, this is ridiculous, or I'm completely livid, or this, this stinks. I've gotten past that point where if they decide to leave Taylor Heineke in at quarterback, I won't be mad about it. But I do think that, you have to keep your eye. No matter which guy you put in, now you have 2 options. I think that's really what it comes down to. You know what I'm saying? Big shout out to Paulie for the $2 super chat that says, no, he's not. You're just in love with his arm. And then big shout out to Paulie for the $5 super chat says, that was last year, bro. New team, new circumstances. You bugging. You want to risk breaking the rhythm with 7 games left. That's crazy. I feel you. I really do. I understand the rhythm and like Kai said, the guys want to play with him. It's Paulie, shout out for Paulie for the $2 super chat. Said, Beard, you bald, been in the locker room. I'm shocked. Listen, I know it's tough for me. That's why I said it's tough, Paulie. It's I understand that aspect. Like you said, I've been in the locker room. I understand the aspect. And like Kai said, the guys want to play for Taylor. I understand all of that.
Yo, Michael Knight said he thought you were a Giants fan.
But
and I figured out how to do polls now on the YouTube. So I did present a poll here because I see a lot of people talking about Taylor Heineke. He's winning games. And even Paulie is saying you got 7 games left, man, and to break that rhythm would be tough. So I want the chat to answer that poll that's in the live chat right now that is asking y'all if winning is a quarterback stat. Because me and Entertainer always jokingly have this argument because Tainer, till he goes to the grave, he's going to die on winning is not a quarterback stat. And I'm always like, there's a little gray area there, man, because here's the thing. There are no great quarterbacks. I'm talking there are none. There is not one great quarterback in the history of this game that we consider to be great that did not win games. You might not have won the big game like a Dan Marino. There's a bunch of other quarterbacks out there that didn't win the big game. But when me and Entertainer talk about this, the first quarterback that he says is Archie Manning. And I'm like, bro, no. Archie Manning might have had some talent, but it just, in the NFL, it didn't work out. And there's a lot of quarterbacks that have talent that they don't work out in the NFL. Greatness is synonymous with winning, if you ask me. But I do want to know what the chat says on that one, so I'm going to keep my eyes on that.
He's winning. Listen, I understand Paulie and Benny and everybody else, okay? You got to give me a little bit of credit because I have come around a little bit from where I was previously.
I say, this is really a breaking point right here for you right now. You know, I when I first said, you know, Taylor Heineke at the beginning of the show, he was throwing some dots. You kind of gave me that, kind of sound, right? I feel like the chat is kind of influencing you a little bit. And that's what I love about this community is like when you present details and things that support a narrative, then it gets you thinking about it because you actually are the one that got me off the Taylor Heineke, you know, parade and the whole train of Taylor Heineke being good, right? I was like, I think dude's a starting quarterback. And I last year I said he's playing winning football. I even said he was playing better ball than Daniel Jones last year at one point, mid-season, right? You were like, that dude is a backup quarterback. I kind of shifted my whole position on that because you presented a lot of facts about that. But Washington right now, they're dealing with a quarterback situation that's probably in the bottom third of the league. Sometimes, man, you just got to go with the hot hand, man.
I think I think that's the case, okay? But when is the hand – at what point does the hand cool off? Like, what's the leash? So if we stick with Taylor Heineke, is Taylor Heineke on a leash now that Carson Wentz is healthy?
To an extent, yeah. I mean, dude, if you go out into a game and Taylor Heineke's out there looking like straight up cheeks, I mean, you got to think about benching him at least during that game. And then you see if Carson Wentz comes in and does some things, then next week you got a quarterback controversy. But I think you got to ride it till the wheels fall off. You know, this is like, think of it like your vehicle that you drive every day, right? Most of the time, people ain't going to change their tires until one pops. You got to ride this till the tire pops, bro. And then when you see, you know, the tire bald and you out there and you get a slow leak, put air in it, now, all right, man, it's time to change that tire. But
it's
right
like
now,
donut, and then you ride on that donut way longer than you're supposed to.
Taylor Heineke is the donut that you're riding on way longer than you're supposed to. Shout out to Tainer, man. I was just talking about Entertainer, man. I know he sees the poll in the chat right now. Is winning a quarterback stat? I'm glad you showed up. It's perfect timing right now. He said, oh, hell no. You know I voted no to that. Authentic. Shout out to Tainer one time in the building, man. Speak of the devil, I brought him up and he pulled up, man. Big shout out to Tainer, man.
And
Y'all
look,
already know.
And see, Paulie understands too. So like, I feel like we can come to a compromise here. Whether it's Taylor Heineke or it's Carson Wentz, they're both on a leash. He said, I've been there before,
I've been there 100 times, dog. Like, I got a good 100 more miles out of this, man.
Yeah.
Car smoking.
But yeah, Paulie, you're right, man. Listen, I'm not mad if it's Taylor Heineke as long as we know he's on a leash. I'm not mad if it's Carson Wentz as long as he knows that he's on a leash. And I think we're good.
I don't get an oil change until it's smoking. It's hilarious, dog. You know how many people do? I did that with my first car and blew the damn motor out, dog. I was like, nah, man, I could get another 100 miles out this joint. That joint was on the side of the road, bro. But I like what you're saying here. So you're saying as long as he's on a leash.
Yeah. I'm not mad either way. Listen, I don't care who plays quarterback as long as we keep winning football games.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that, man. That's real right there.
But this is a debate that is going. This is all that Washington is going to be talking about for the rest of this week. I want to know at what point they decide to name a starter.
79% of the people in the chat said that winning is a quarterback stat. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll right now because I feel good about that, Tainer. My man. All right, man. So can we put a bow tie on this game, man? I know you're feeling great, man. And I didn't want to dip the vibes a little bit by talking about the quarterback controversy at the end here, but
it's a great way to end the show because listen, it's all fun, winning, victory. But listen, we're on to Houston.
All right, Bill Belichick.
Okay, we're on to Houston.
That's what you should have said when I first asked you about this. We're on to Houston.
and hopefully by Thursday, we'll know who's our starting quarterback.
Man, because they got to make a decision on this.
By Thursday, I would imagine.
We're gonna have we're gonna have some content for this. I'm gonna make sure of it. Yeah, make sure y'all stay tuned because when the starting quarterback for the Washington Commanders gets announced, we're going live. We're doing something impromptu. We're doing something. We're going to be talking about that for show. I'm definitely digging that vibe because that's a big decision, man. And you know me, I'm always over here talking about Ron Rivera botching quarterback situation over there in Washington. And this is another key situation. And hey, it's not my job for a reason. He's the one who's got the credentials, man, and the resume to be the head coach for the Washington Commanders. And, man, he's got this is a difficult decision to make because you did pay
Ain't
that guy to
nothing
come
been
over.
easy for Ron Rivera since
man.
he been here. Nothing.
It's been tough.
And I'm going to answer this question before we go.
Yep.
If the locker room is as good as the locker room says it is, if they're 1, 2, 3 family, then they should never split the locker room. Locker rooms don't get split if it's 1, 2, 3 family.
That is true. I mean, I had people telling me on a tweet the other day that I shouldn't be rooting for Kenny Galladay. I'm like, my guy, he wears blue. I have to root. I want him to play as best as he can play. I don't know what kind of fan you are, but, hey, I learned this rule from my man, Entertainer and Bad Dog, man. I don't tell nobody how to root for their team. Root for your team the way you want to root for your team, but that don't mean that block finger ain't right on demand on you. Like, block you one time. Block, block, block. Been blocked. Man, I probably got about 300 people blocked on Twitter. I swear to God, 297 of them is New York Giants fans. Because the shit that I see on my timeline, man, it'd be absolutely ridiculous, man. It'd be straight up ridiculous. Like, people calling for Brian Daboll's job this morning. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with y'all? People still complaining about the quarterback situation mid-season right now. People still talking about the draft. I'm like, yo, dog, we sitting at 7-2. Y'all talking about the draft. Come on. That's not the vibes, man. That's definitely not the vibes. But, hey, like I said, I ain't going to tell you how to root for your team. Root for your team however you want. It just might not happen in my mentions. That's just how it's going down.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Amen, man. But big win, man. That's a huge win for y'all, man. I know you feeling like a proud Commies fan one time, man, because biggest win in the NFC East all year. That's the biggest win right there. That was a huge win. I would have put a couple of the New York Giants games over that. The Ravens win was huge for us. The Packers win at the time was extremely huge for us too. But that win to take out the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles, man, that is major.
On the road in prime time. I think those are the
and it don't get more prime time than Monday night.
Nope.
It don't get more prime time than Monday night, bro. That's major. That's a major win, man. But shout out to the gang, man. Shout out to the whole entire family pulling up, rocking with us on this Victory Tuesday for the New York Giants and for the Beard. Yo, only 1 week have we not shared where both of our teams have lost. That only happened in 1 week so far this season. I'd say we're blessed, man. Shout out to the football gods, man. They've been blessing Awthentik and The Beard, man. 3 years of battling through garbage seasons, bro, for us. And finally, we're getting some winning football here, man. I'm hoping that you guys could really make a push and make it to the playoffs. Like I said, that would be really amazing, man. But shout out to the gang, man. Y'all showed up and showed out today. So a lot of laughs on this show, a lot of nuggets, a lot of detailed information, and a lot of opinions, man, and that's something that we'll never slay each other for on this channel, man. Y'all know what it is, man. Awthentik and The Beard. Keep raising that bar. Keep living those dreams because the universe flows in Technicolor and surround sound. Shout out to the podcast GOAT, my man Combat Jack. Rest in peace one time. Y'all know what it is. Catch up on all that old content we put out earlier this week. The Giant overreaction, if you missed it, that was a really good one. We had some great overreactions on that one. The rundown inside the numbers of the Giants and the Texans game. And keep your eyes peeled for some content from me, from myself and The Beard about this quarterback controversy that's happening in Washington right now. Kai says to end the stream on a good vibe. Me and girl are expecting our third child, man. Big shout out to y'all, Kai, man. That's awesome, man.
Congratulations.
Bringing a life into this world one time. That's amazing, man. Big congratulations to you, Kai, man. I wonder if y'all gonna do a gender reveal. I hate those things. I saw a gender reveal on Twitter, bro. The girl had powder in her cheeks. She was naked and she farted and blew out the color of the baby. I was like, y'all are going way, way too far. Definitely left bicep up, man. Y'all put some biceps to the channel one time, man. Strong side.
Love side.
Y'all know what it is, man. Y'all be good. Keep living those dreams. Keep raising that bar, man. We will see y'all on Thursday for the preview. This is going to be a great one, man. Giants are going to be taking on the Lions. Commanders taking on the Texans. Trap game, if you ask me. I'm not going to make my pick just yet. Make sure y'all pull up 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, 7 p.m. Y'all be good, man. Enjoy y'all victory week. All of y'all, everybody except those Dallas Cowboys fans, and you know how we feel about them.
And then Philadelphia Eagles fans.
and the Philadelphia Eagles fans, you already know. Y'all be good, man. We will see y'all on Thursday. Peace.
Peace.
Spike don't care.